Good evening and welcome to the City of Bayonne regular Planning Board meeting for the month of January. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Chairperson Fiamonte.
Here.
Vice Chair Velardo is absent. Commissioner Veloz is absent. Commissioner Booker is absent. Commissioner Locke. Here. Commissioner Rhodes.
Here.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Here.
Commissioner Lubach.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All rise for the pledge. Next on the agenda, we have the statement with regard to the Open Public Meetings Act Sunshine Law. This regular meeting of the City of Bayonne Planning Board has complied with the Open Public Meetings Act Sunshine Law. Annual notices of the schedule of regular meetings were published in both the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger newspaper. The schedule of regular meetings for calendar year 2026 is filed with the City Clerk's office. A copy of the agenda of tonight's meeting is posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal building and on the City of Bayonne website. Next on the agenda, I believe we have the adoption of minutes. Oh, okay, we'll continue on to communications then. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair. Under communications, we have a communication from the Municipal Council with a resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan for certain property located at East 22nd Street in City Block 452, Block .02, Lot 6, on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. These are P25-019. Next is Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan for certain property located at 301-302 Constitution Avenue in City Block 803, Lot 1, City Block 815, Lot 1, on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. That is Harbor Point. And the next is a Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan for certain property located at 1201-1205 JFK Boulevard in City Block 32, lots 13.01 and 15 on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. These items require no action on the part of the board. The next is a communication with regard to item number 11, that's P25-022, Abacaris Realty LLC. The site is 9-11 Schuyler Place, Block 289, Lot 5. This is a dismissal request from Mr. Peter Ceccinini to myself, asking that the board dismiss this case. So that matter will not be heard tonight.
Okay, thank you.
In addition, we have two other items that I just became aware of where we will not have a quorum present to hear item number 7 because of a recusal by a commissioner. So P25-017, presentation of a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment study for property located at 104-108 West 7th Street in City Block 314, Lot 44.01. Will need to be carried to the February 10th meeting. Can I get a motion and a second to carry that matter without any further notice on the part of the city?
I'll move.
I'll second.
And on the vote?
And on the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Aye. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
And Commissioner Lubach. Okay. The next item that's going to have to be carried from the agenda will be item number 10. That's P25-035. That is presentation of a non-condemnation redevelopment plan for property located at 1191-1205 JF Kennedy Boulevard in City Block 32, lots 10, 11, 12, 13.01, and 15. We also have an issue with having a quorum for this one because of the recusal of a commissioner. Therefore, I'd ask that this be carried to February 10th as well. Can I get a motion and a second without notice?
Well, without notice, okay. I was just going to ask that. I'll make a motion.
Second.
And on the vote?
And on the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach. Okay, those matters are carried. Next, we get back to the regular agenda, and that is item number 8. That was, that also has to get carried, I'm sorry. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
P-24-012, presentation of a redevelopment plan for property located at 973-987 Broadway, 11-13 West 47th Street, and 12 West 48th Street in City Block 70, lots 19, 20, 21.01, 23, and 24. We're going to carry that to February 10th without any further notice. Can I get a motion and a second to carry that as well?
I'll move.
Second.
Second.
And on the vote?
On the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
Okay. Now to number 8, P-25-030, presentation of a redevelopment plan for property located at 485-493 Avenue C and 64-66 West 22nd Street in City Block 209, lots 22, 23.01, and 27, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne, also known as Russell's Auto Body.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Reinertsen.
Good evening. Good to see you. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
I hope I could work this clicker correctly. So we're here to present the area need redevelopment plan for, as council said, known as the Russell's Auto Body location. As it shows on our slide here, it's, I'm not going to reread the block and lots. It's already been read into the record. I'm just going to go to the next one. Let's see if I do this correctly. Felicia. Arrow? The head, aha, let's see. There we go. Okay, so point it there. Okay, so basically, this is the outline. It's 3 parcels that mostly contains the Russell's Auto Body facility. There's a print shop on lot 22, but that's the outline of the area. So the background basically is the development plan is only for block 209, lots 22, 23, and 27. And this background is on pages 3 and 4 of the redevelopment plan. The property was designated as an area needed redevelopment by council. Per the resolution, the council authorized the planning board to prepare a redevelopment plan, which has been done. That's why we're here. Current site, it's a corner lot. It has 2 different businesses. It basically is predominantly the Russell's Auto Body Shop. Okay, so page 6 has the required redevelopment plan components. I'm not going to go over it too much. I am going to stress one thing, though. This would be on, let me just see here. No, we don't want to go here. Okay. All provisions of the redevelopment plan must either be substantially consistent with the municipal master plan or designed to effectuate the master plan. That's on page 6. Now, really what we're here is really to see what the relationships of the other plans is described on page 24 to 26. And basically, the Bayonne master plan talked about transit nodes and stuff, and this plan is consistent. That's what the plan says. It's consistent with the master plan. It does cite the location next near the light rail stations. Now, it is a little bit beyond the quarter mile that the master plan does, but there's been subsequent studies that say that people, in general preference, will go to up to about a half a mile away, and this is right within there for rail. That's a preference that we put in the plan. Studies have shown that. So basically, that really is what this hearing's about, to really determine that yes, it is, you forward your recommendations that it is consistent with the master plan, and B, any other recommendations or typos that may be corrected and such. And I'm sure Sue will help us out with that if I missed anything. Okay, so we'll get to that to the end, but contiguous municipalities are discussed with Jersey City, but there is nothing contiguous. Jersey City is not contiguous to this particular parcel. The Hudson County Master Plan it's consistent with, and the State Development Plan, it's in the PA1 zone. So that's all described on page 24 to 26. The redevelopment goals are, let me just skip that. Redevelopment goals are listed on pages 6 to 7, just laying out what the goals are. It's to provide a coordinated, orderly development of underutilized parcels, promote revitalization of underutilized sites, and really, number 3, I think, is important for this particular site, redevelopment that is appropriate for the area's unique location, surrounding land uses, and proximity to mass transit facilities. And I'll just skip that. Use regulations are described on pages 12 to 13. And I am stuck on a page here, so I'm trying to go along. All right, multifamily dwellings consisting of only studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units are permitted. There's various variety of accessory uses really related to amenities for the facility, like rooftop lobbies for indoor and outdoor recreation, signage, parking, could be structured parking and the like, landscaping, and there's some more here. Green roofs and rain gardens, important, because that kind of ties in with the Hudson County Master Plan. Bicycle storage, and any other use that's customary or incidental. And what's not permitted, any use that's not expressly permitted is prohibited. We have bulk regulations. We'll just go over them really quick. Minimum lot area, 19,000 square feet. Minimum lot frontage, 100 square feet. We do have impervious coverage of 95%, but it may be increased if there's green roofs used as an offsets, and there's formulas in here for that. And that's to encourage green infrastructure. Maximum building height is 10 stories and 130 feet, but the first floor parking is permitted to be 34 feet. So the structured parking is below, residential above. There's some exemptions for bulkheads above the roof line. Then there's minimum building setbacks are listed on page 13 and 14. This is a unique site because it's a corner lot parcel, and it really just has 2 frontages in one side. That's it. But maximum residential unit count's 135 dwelling units. That's it for density. Off-street parking. Let me just go back because I know this has always been a concern. Studios, minimum residential floor area, studios of 500 square feet, 1 bedroom 700, 2 bedrooms 800. There's no more than 70% of the units shall have the same number of bedrooms per building. The bedrooms have to have an exterior window and should have basic amenities. So then we can go on to parking, which is always a concern in Bayonne. Off-street parking shall be permitted and is required as surface parking or structured parking. It shall comply with RSIS standards. And basically, one of the stresses is that they do have mechanical parking allowed. But so on pages, one of the stresses here is no residents in a multifamily development shall be eligible for the city's on-street residential permit parking program. So the parking in this facility will be contained and not bleed over to the surrounding area. And then traffic signals, a minimum of 1, will be fitted with a signal preemption. There's all discussed about parking stalls. It's designed for the facility or certain changes simply because structured parking and such, it's a little tighter, but again, that'll be dealt with on the site plan, you know, if and when an application is submitted for this. Curb cuts is 2 curb cuts from Avenue C and West 22nd. It is a corner lot. I'm going to skip here and go to other design regulations. It's on pages 16 to 23. I'm not going to go into the details on this, but there's building regulations, streetscape, a lobby and lounge location, site lighting, trash and recycling, open space, sustainable green roof structures, landscaping. So there's a theme here of heavy on design elements, make it a nice, attractive development in the future. Other regulations is on here, just environmental remediation, responsibility of the redeveloper. The effect of the plan, it supersedes the underlying zoning. Affordable housing shall be in agreement with the city and the redeveloper, And then finally, a phasing plan. This is something we've added, and it was requested of us to have a phasing plan, phasing schedule for the project. So this was added to this particular plan. And with that, that really gives my brief summary of the plan. And again, it's just stressing that we're here not to talk, I mean, you can make comments about the nuts and bolts, but that's really up to council. It's really talking about master plan consistency.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reinertsen. Before we open it up to the public, I just have a question. Looking at the plan on pages, 12, you have permitted uses, retail and/or commercial uses. And then on the prohibited uses, any use that is not expressly permitted is prohibited. But retail is, to me, somewhat vague. Would that be able to be updated? I know in other plans, we're very cautious to make sure that, we're not just letting in any type of business. So I don't know how the other commissioners feel about that, but I would just think, is that something that, you would be willing to update to include, to be more in line with some of the other plans that we've had?
You know what my theme's always been, it's your plan, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I think it needs to call out.
If you want to make a suggestion to pass along to council, I mean, I have no objection to it, it makes sense.
Yeah, commissioners, any thoughts on that? I'm just thinking things like, we don't want another smoke shop on a corner or, someone to try to open up something that just doesn't fit in the neighborhood.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so maybe we can just make the recommendation that we go back and work with our city planners just to make sure that any of that language is consistent with the other plans? Because it just seems too loose to me.
I
That
totally agree. I mean, we have to get away from thinking that what is presented to the board is final. This is your plan, and you're sending it to the city council. We all, we routinely have comments that go to the council. It's really the council, and then it'll be adopted. As you know, there's an adoption date. So it's not that I want to say that this is draft, but obviously, if you have any comments of any note, they should be included by Rich's, resolution, and they should go to council.
Okay,
I mean, that's my opinion.
all right. Yeah, so I would like to just see consistency. I know it's a draft, but a comment just that we should be including more detailed what is permitted versus what is prohibited in line with our other plans.
If I can, I will tell you that when the zoning officer gets this plan that's adopted, they will really appreciate it, because going back into these plans, they exist for a long time, and, you go back and you say, well, what did that mean? And sometimes the people aren't around to say that. So the more specific we can get to give the board what they need, I think is very beneficial.
Because one line it's saying, well, whatever's, basically,
Yeah.
if it says it's permitted, it's, it says it's not permitted, but we never really said what was permitted.
Right.
So I think it has to be clear.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it's a point well taken, and I've always taken the position that, you really want to be clear on the principal uses.
Yeah,
Accessory
absolutely.
uses are a little different, because I think we pointed out, things like Amazon delivery rooms weren't even thought about 5 or 10 years ago. So that customary incidental language is always good, because down the line, the zoning officer could
Right.
have some discretion in making
Right.
that. But the principal uses that's the heart of the matter, so, sure.
And if I can, I would just say, several years ago, we had a redevelopment plan where the developer wanted to put in drones and robots and stuff like that, and we basically poo-pooed it, and now I see these little robots running around the street. So sometimes, some of these thoughts are worth at least considering.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Reinertsen? Okay, seeing none. At this time, if there are any members of the public that have a question regarding Mr. Reinertsen's testimony, now would be the time to come forward. And then once questions are done, we'll give the members of the public an opportunity to make statements. Mr. Reinertsen, if you wouldn't mind just taking this microphone so you can answer any questions. Good
Mike
evening, Mr.
Pasigno, 42 West 23rd. There is a smoke shop on that corner, right across the street from it. I guess it's pretty big too, so yeah, no smoke shop or a business would be good. He wouldn't want the competition anyway. I'm just curious, is there a developer for this, or you're just laying it out for a developer?
That's not part of the redevelopment plan. And I wouldn't want to comment on that right now. I mean, I'm sure the city has that, and I'm not privy to.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious because it's a thriving business over there. I mean, it's, was just curious about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Resigno. Are there any other members of the public? Come on up.
Bernie Gollum, 100 West 22nd Street. I want to ask if any shadow studies were done?
That would be part of the land use application. This is just for the redevelopment plan.
Okay, in the redevelopment plan, if I understand correctly what you said, is it's in line with the city's master plan?
Yes.
And in the city's master plan, there's sustainability and efforts to be green. And if, for me, making sure we don't discourage solar panel use in the future, or even now, I would think that this would be something that we should consider during the planning, no?
Again, commonly, I would just say that having been in my prior life doing a lot of telecom work and billboard work and stuff, shadow studies and such really come into play when you're doing the application itself. I mean, it's not in the plan. I just hadn't even thought about putting it in the plan. I haven't, I can't speak for any other plans in Bayonne. I haven't seen that as a requirement. But that normally, that's really where it comes in. I mean, it's a valid point. I hadn't thought about putting it in, but I mean, if the commissioners, think they want to pass a recommendation, studies are done, that's up to them. I mean, but right now, I was here, I think I've done about 6 plans, and not one of them had a shadow study. That doesn't mean your point is not valid.
No. Well, I'm on that block, and my house in the past 6 years generated enough electricity for 15 homes to supply electricity for that. Now, I'm thinking half the homes from that, from Russell's yard, halfway up the block, be almost no point in encouraging anybody to put in solar panels because half the day they're going to be in the shadow. Now, we already have 5-story buildings, and everybody expects whenever you're moving, wherever you're moving, and there's a 5-story building, that you're not going to put in solar panels. But anybody in the future that wants to put in solar panels, and they know that suddenly we're going to be having 10-story buildings all over Bayonne, maybe you're going to discourage them from even thinking about solar panels.
Well, and it's a valid, I'll just give you a flip side of that. I mentioned about, my prior experience in different industries. A lot of times those shadow studies were done for applications that the height wasn't permitted, so you want to see how that affects. I'm not saying that it isn't done, but this is, 10 stories is going to be the permitted height. So, it's not 10 stories, but, if it doesn't cast a shadow on, I mean, I'm just not being flip, on your house or something like that. It's contemplated that it's 10 stories. So I think really, that's sort of, again, if the commissioners want to pass a comment along that, perhaps that, studies at the discretion of the planning board could be requested at that time. I just don't know if it's that appropriate within a redevelopment plan. You start getting a little too prescriptive. Again, if it's almost like I set a 10-story to be permitted, and yet I'm going to make you do a shadow study to prove that you can go to 10 stories. I really don't. The bulk, everything else that is done in the plan, the bulk, everything else, really contemplates things such as impacts upon the surrounding area. And you could agree to disagree, but that's really, at that point, it may be it's council's plan to eventually adopt. But
A little discouraging to think that at one point we're thinking of sustainability, and a longtime Bayonne resident, almost 80 years. 10-story buildings, I mean, New York City, they're fine. Bayonne, I don't know. Think about it, guys.
And again, Nate can pass along the comments, but ultimately, like I said, that may be something you want to bring forward to council itself. They're the ones who are going to adopt the plan. This is the recommendation stage.
Right.
Not trying to pass the buck, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to say, hey, this is where, what the focus should be. I mean, valid points, but probably more appropriate at council level.
It's not what Bayonne used to be. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, any other members of the public that would like to come up and ask Mr. Reinertsen a question?
I'm sorry, Rich had stepped out, so I wasn't able to ask a question that I
Sure.
would like to, if you don't mind,
Yeah, of
out of
course.
order.
Not a problem.
Ron reminded me that this was already introduced at council. I believe there was a meeting in November where several plans and projects were presented, I believe, and I looked it up, I believe it's presented by title, but the plans themselves were not presented, and therefore tonight, I believe, and that's why I wanted to clarify, the council would, it's perfectly legitimate to introduce a plan. You know, we have the two ways to do it. We get referred to us, and then we get back to the council, and you have two readings, or you have the first reading at the council meeting. I just wanted to clarify, so this plan tonight is being presented for consistency hearing. It wasn't listed that way on the agenda. I just wanted to ask Rich if that's what we're doing. And we've done it many times.
I believe so, Sue.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to, because the other issue is that the date of that meeting was November 12th, and the dates on the plans are later than that, when they were actually finalized. So I just wanted to clarify in my mind, that, again, that they were introduced by title, but they weren't really presented. I was at the meeting, and John Wicasella, our redevelopment attorney, was there that evening, and there might have been a little bit of discussion, but the detail that he's presenting tonight was not presented. So back to, this is your first look at it, really, so I appreciate, your comments that you
Okay.
might make to send back to the council.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mack. No, not a problem. We kind of went a bit out of order, so I'll just double check in the end here
I'm used to it.
if we have anything down the end with Mr. Sloff. Anything? No, anything? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd just like the record to reflect that Commissioner Veloz has joined us at 6:36 tonight.
Okay, so noted, thank you. All right, so we are at comments from the audience. Before we wrap up and move to a vote, this would be the chance for anyone to just make a comment, whether it's pro or con, regarding this presentation. Okay. Commissioners, anything we wish to put on the record regarding this presentation? Okay. All right, so we've heard the public comments, some comments regarding the shadow study. I know completely what Mr. Reinertsen is saying, that, as I was talking about some drafts, they're all recommendations at this point. Council would be the ones making it, but if that is something that's important to those in the neighborhood, I think the recommendation regarding a shadow study would be feasible to add in. I don't know if any other commissioners have feelings on that. Anyone wish to share? I think it would be feasible just to put that in there. Yes, agreed? Okay. So then we would be, any recommendation that we would be making is just to make sure that the permitted uses, prohibited uses are consistent with any of our other plans, so that we specifically call out what could potentially show up in a retail setting, and what shouldn't show up in a retail setting, and then any plans that are coming forward potentially have a shadow study included in them. With that said, I will make a motion to approve to send this over to council. Do I have a second?
Second?
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I believe, Mr. Reinertsen, you might be on deck, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the next one says as well.
Okay,
P25-034, presentation of a condemnation area in need of redevelopment study for property located at 973-993 Avenue C and 80 West 47th Street in City Block 76, lots 17.01 and 17.02, to develop a map reflecting the boundaries of the proposed non-condemnation redevelopment area and determine whether said property constitutes a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law.
Okay, well, thank you all again. I'm not going to read the address in because it's already been read by council. And I normally don't do a presentation board for area needs or redevelopment. I think most people know what this site is. This is really the location. It formerly had the St. Vincent de Paul Roman Catholic Elementary School, still has the Catholic Church, which is a landmark. It does have both parcels for an area need study. And, I'll just read for the record what the statutory, why we're here. Council authorized and this is on page 6 of the report, council authorized the planning board to undertake the study. This is a non-condemnation study. By statute, by law, by local redevelopment law, you have to say it up front. Non-condemnation. The planning board must conduct a preliminary investigation. CME has done that on your behalf, and we're presenting it tonight. And upon receipt of a recommendation from the planning board, the city council may act to adopt a resolution designating the area question, any part thereof, as a condemnation area. So basically, I'm going to just jump all the way to my criteria. If you bear with me a second. And we have, and I'm just going to read, the whole city was designated area in need of rehabilitation way back in 1998. Redevelopment. Here are these, for the school itself. I don't think anybody who's seen it can argue that it is blighted. It's almost falling apart. I had actually asked to tour inside, and I was gently told that that's really not a good idea. So I think we can, so generally we found that it meets criteria A, the generality of the buildings are substandard, unsafe, unsanitary, or as to be conducive to unwholesome living and working conditions. That's the conclusion of our report. We also have criteria D, which really talks about the general welfare. Areas with buildings or improvements which by reason of dilapidation, so I don't even have to go obsolescence, but it's dilapidated. It's, it really is, it states that, it's detrimental to the safety, health, morals, and welfare of the community. There's police reports about people going in. There is, I photographed areas where it's easy access, and this is everybody acknowledges this is a problematic site at this point. I also said both parcels meet criteria H, which is, it's within a planning area. But criteria H is sort of like ancillary to other ones. It's a supplemental criteria. But I did put in that section, there's, in addition, a redevelopment area may include individual parcels that do not reflect any of the eligibility listed in the statute. It says it include areas, lands, buildings, or improvements that in and by themselves are not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, but inclusion which is found necessary with or without changing the condition for the effective redevelopment of the area in which they are part. So what we do have a concept plan that was presented to us, and this is the section 3 portion, that the portion of the lot that was historically used by the school and the church, which is the parking lot, including that would effectuate the redevelopment of the school property in itself. And again, just like we discussed on this prior hearing, we're not here for a redevelopment plan right now. This is an area need study. But having that concept plan now we have a plan in hand to show why that parcel was important. So the parcel that has the church, just that part that really is the parking lot. So those are our conclusions. We visited the site, we took photos, obviously not inside, but I think that that concludes my presentation. I think that both of these parcels can be designated area in need of redevelopment under those criteria. And again, for the church parcel itself, it's really limited to the parking lot. I mean, that church is not going anywhere. It's a national landmark. It's beautiful.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reinertsen. That clarifies any questions I may have. Commissioners, any questions? Yes, Commissioner Locke?
Criteria A, which is really harmful. It really comes. Criteria A and D are very similar. A really deals with people who are working or living in an area. Now, granted, the school is abandoned, but in theory, if someone was to work, even if someone's working there, if I was told that you can't go in there, it's, so I think it meets criteria A, but definitely meets criteria D. It's so solid. And really, what areas that need a redevelopment is talking about blight. And this school is a blight, unfortunately, and it's sad. I talked to so many people who went to that school. But you know what? I think the whole idea of the redevelopment law is to make parcels like this live again. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners?
Oh, and section 3, that was for the parking lot there. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. We'll start down here. Anything? Mr. Slaw?
I would agree with the characterization of the property as Mr. Reinertsen has testified to.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mack?
I also, I refer to it, and I've said it to you, the hole in the donut, like there are parcels in between. But I will say to you, when I came over here in 214 from the base, one of the first projects we were looking at was the rehab on St. Vincent's School, and it hasn't been able to be redeveloped, and the purpose of the redevelopment law is to give incentives to have it rehabbed. I would question the length of time that we would give it, and just in terms of, I would think that, in the next decade, we would be able to redevelop it. So, but I'll let the council look at that one. But I agree. I also agree with Ron that sometimes we go just with H. We call it in the planning profession a fluff. It's just, you're entitled to it, and you should take advantage of it. I'm not talking about tonight. I'm talking about some of the ones we've seen recently. So we always are happy when we can see something that has more than that, and this one certainly does. And I would be personally very happy to see this get redeveloped.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mack. Are there any members of the public that have a question? Come on up. Mr. Reinertsen, you'll take this mic. Okay. Good evening.
Should I give you my name? Jill Pastorino. I live at 74 West 46th Street. That's right across from this site. It's Pustorino. Yes. Okay. I have like a couple of questions. This says that it's about the portions of the lot that you're including the church lot.
Correct.
The church lot is like far bigger than the school lot. And you're talking just about the parking lot.
Correct.
But on all the maps, the entire lot is surrounded, like it's designated. You're talking about lot 1702. You're not talking about a piece of it. I know you're saying it's a piece of it, but does this, like designating lot 17.02, which is the entire church lot, which is what is shown on all this documentation, you don't carve it out, does that open this whole lot up to further encroachment down the line?
Well, I'm going to just answer it from a planning perspective, and I'll defer to council. We were very careful of this, to have in the appendices a concept plan, just showing what areas are contemplated for designation. That's why on page 26, it says portions of the lot 1702 parcels shown on the concept plan are suitable for designation under section 3. So our intent, and I'm going on record tonight, is just that portion that is shown on the plans.
Can that be what gets sent to the council? Something that is drawn out, that is very specifically that, because we have seen what happens when lots next to lots get designated this way. They never come apart. Like if the lot 1702 goes to the council to be designated an area of redevelopment, you may just want the parking lot now. That may be what it says. But if you open the whole lot up to this redevelopment plan, like further down the line, does that open it up legally to being encroached on?
Now I'm going to defer to council on that one.
I'm not sure what you mean by encroached on. There's going to be a study, and if they determine that the study is, it meets the criteria, then it's referred to the city council, and then there would be a plan, and the plan would be the specific portion of what land is going to get developed. This is just a designation at this point that it needs the rights of the local redevelopment and housing law.
Okay, that's confusing to me. What I'm saying is the purpose of this whole thing is to send it, to get this designated an area of redevelopment. For right now, it says lot 1702. That's the whole lot. And I'm just wondering if you could narrow it down and take the rest of the lot off of this, designation.
I think I'm going to answer this now. This is from the land use law. The board's charged with doing this this area needs study, correct? We did it
Okay,
on.
you did the study,
We
right?
did the study. There's no plan, this is the study.
Right, I understand that, and you have a
And-
concept
and
plan
it-
that's already
it is- it is-
moving
Yeah, it is up.
along.
It is up to the board. Now, CME was retained as a planning expert. This is best practices to do the study, and we did. So what we are saying clearly in this study is not all of 1702 is eligible. I mean, you're dealing with a church that is a national landmark, so let's face it, that church is not going anywhere. What it is that we designated a part, because that's it. We do a study, and that doesn't mean you have to rubber stamp and say the whole lot or every lot. And just say it's a study of 10 parcels. Sometimes 8 of them will make it, and 2 are not eligible. So that's what this is, and I'm going on record and saying that, focusing on page 26 in our conclusions, it's the reason we included that plan, that concept, the building footprint, to make clear that the only part that we are designated under Section 3 is basically the parking lot, and that parking lot is I think, to say with Sue, that's a hole in a donut here. So
I do understand the parking lot issue, yes, and if.
So that's
if
why I'm
you're
stressing. I'm
clearly
going on the
saying
record
it's
for
just-
you to say
You're going on
that's
the
it.
record, is the planning
And-
board going on the record with that? Is that what we're saying?
Well, the planning board would be adopting what he has in his writing.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want any ambiguity, and I hear what you're saying.
Right, because this says, the property, the public hearing is determine what constitutes the non-condemnation area and
So
redevelopment.
our findings basically are the rest of the church property is not, that's not our
Right, it doesn't meet
findings.
any criteria except that it's next door. It's that,
Yeah,
it's
it's
that
just that
section
small
3.
portion. It's a unique situation.
And also, I would like to sort of ask and point out, if it becomes, like, in your presentation, you say what the zoning is, what this area is supposed to be used for, and what the land use is for, and it's pretty clear it's 1- and 2-family homes and things.
And that's existing zoning, and I would say, too, that.
And so, well, my
Yeah.
question is, the point of a redevelopment plan is to supersede that zoning, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it is, but practicality-wise, yes, it eventually
Yes,
does.
so it could be 10 stories, it could be 20 stories, we don't know,
Yeah,
right?
and here's a little interesting thing here. Remember I said it in my presentation that the whole city was designated an area
Yeah,
of
we've dealt with that before here.
But you know what? You can do a redevelopment plan based on that designation. There's a difference between financial incentives on bigger projects versus smaller projects, and that's the main reason. There's 5-year tax incentives for rehabilitation portions. But in theory, and in fact, I've worked for some municipalities, they've written redevelopment plans that are just designated under rehabilitation. So you can, it'll be the same, it'll have the same effect.
Yeah, that designation was pretty gross, to say the entire city is in need of redevelopment in
And
that
I'm not going to
way.
comment on
Yeah.
that. It's back in 1998, so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you for your
Oh,
answers.
Okay,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, Madam Chair? I
Yes.
just had a question. Ron, do you have a graphic that shows the area you're recommending as a graphic?
Absolutely, it's on page,
I don't have it.
if you, well, I'm going to go on the record here to say, on page 27, there is a concept plan building footprint in there, and it's also in the appendices, and it shows the outline clearly of the parking area.
Yeah, so you've covered the area that you're recommending be designated.
Correct.
And it leaves some of the study area requested by council out of that equation.
That would be correct. That is the whole intent of that graphic, yes.
So I think that that's very clear then about what's intended.
Okay, thank you. All right, I just want to see if there's anyone else from the public that has a question. Are there any other members of the public that have a question for Mr. Reinertsen? Come on up, sir.
Hello, James Pastorino, husband to Jill. We live, as we say, directly across the street from the church parking lot, and we have lived there for 20, 25 years. So while this is more of a, perhaps just a statement to put in there, is that while we do realize that, the building, I've been in the building many times. I've been in the building in recent years, as a church goer and as a person who works with church, with church buildings or schools. And we do realize that it needs a lot of help. We don't feel the care. I mean, if there is a, in the redevelopment push, we living across the street do not see a lot of trouble across the street. We do not see police activity that is unusual. When we looked at the paperwork that was presented recently, a lot of what was presented as police activity was parking violations and things. This is not, maybe several years ago, we used to have more kids hanging around, things happening, but, we listen and we look and we see very little. But we don't disagree that the bill, and, we've talked to the priest, we know that the building has needs, but we just want to put it there that we're looking for a reasonable, we're hoping for a reasonable development that happens, something that, I guess this is not the time when you go how many stories, but obviously we're not looking for, we're not hoping for a 10-story building. Nobody on that block would like to see that, or even a 6-story building, but, that's where we're at as neighbors. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any, let's see, any members of, I know we just had a comment, but I just want to double check, are there any other questions before we move to any additional public comments? Are there any other members of the public that wish to make a statement regarding this presentation? Okay, with that said, Mr. Reinertsen, I don't know if you had anything else to add. I think you had concluded already.
I've concluded, and thank you for the public for those questions. They're very, very valuable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, anyone wish to make a statement? Okay, thank you, Mr. Reinertsen, and thank you to those neighbors who came out just to share their thoughts. Obviously, we're still in the beginning stages. However, we do know that that school building is especially blighted. It's, unfortunate, but it really is where it is, and we do, need to move forward with something. So with that said, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
And on the vote, please?
On the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think we're going to take a quick,
Short break.
yes, we'll be right back. So I believe we are ready to call the meeting back to order.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll give you a roll call.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. Chairperson Fiamonte.
I am here.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Scheibel.
Here.
Commissioner Lubach.
Here.
Commissioner Veloz.
Here.
Okay, I believe we're at public hearing number 12, is that correct? That is correct.
just get to it, and I'll call that matter. Item number 12, P25-032, G7B LLC, care of Jason R. Tuvel, Esquire. The site is 100 Bayonne Crossing Way, Block 453.03, Lot 1.01. Applicant is seeking preliminary and final site plan approval to retrofit the existing Sonic building with a 7 Brew coffee shop. Site work includes removal of existing canopies, and addition of new building canopy, as well as minor grading and curb line adjustments. Mr. Tuvel.
Great. Thank you,
Good
Madam
evening.
Chair, members of the board. Jason Tuvel from the law firm of Prime Tuvel and Maselli, attorney for the applicant G7B LLC. So council gave a very comprehensive opening, so I don't really need to get into it that much more. But the goal is to repurpose the existing Sonic restaurant that's been vacant for some time, that's located on the property, with a new 7 Brew coffee with drive-through facility. So 7 Brew is a new concept to New Jersey. There are several hundred of them throughout the country. So if you look them up online or whatever, you'll see that there's many of them within the Midwest and the South, et cetera. New Jersey has 3 open at the given time, with more to come. And we represent, or my office represents, the franchisee that holds the license for New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, as well as Rockland County, New York. So the goal is to repurpose this building, which is over 2,000 square feet. It would be open operationally from 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday or Sunday, through Thursday, and then they stay open a little bit later to 11 on Friday and Saturday. But it's not a 24-hour operation. Just some other characteristics of the business before I get into the testimony. There's no cooking at the facility. It's just drinks. It's coffee, tea, smoothies, energy drinks. They do have one food item that the applicant will explain, but there's no food preparation on the site. There's also no seating within the building. So there's no in-room dining, there's no outside dining. It's all grab and go by way of the drive-through. And there's 6 to 8 employees on a peak shift. On a non-peak shift, there might be a little bit less, but on the peak shift, there'll be 6 to 8 employees. The property is located in the HC district, and it's a permitted use within that district. And to quote Mr. McDonough, because I always think of him when I have these types of applications, it meets all the higher tiers of zoning, so we don't need a height variance, we don't need setback variances, we don't need coverage. The only variances that we need that we'll get into are parking, loading. There are some as relates to drive aisle width and landscaping, but your main aspects of zoning are all compliant with respect to the project. I have 4 witnesses that I plan on calling, Madam Chair. I don't think any of them will be too long, but I do think they're necessary. So I have Zach Roskam. He is a representative of the owner, G7B. He will actually not only be developing the site, but he and his wife actually run these facilities as well, and he'll go through the operations and give you a little bit of a narrative on what 7 Brew is all about. Then I have Lindsay Reese from Stonefield Engineering and Design. She's our civil engineer. Then John Korak, also from Stonefield, is our traffic engineer. He'll explain how the drive-through functions and why the parking is appropriate. And then I have Kristen Shepard from Christine Cafone or Cafone Consulting Group, who's our professional planner. So those are the witnesses that we plan on calling. I believe I submitted my affidavit of service and publication, so you have that for the record. I do see the comprehensive exhibit list. Thank you very much for putting that together. I would ask that the board accept those exhibits, and with your permission, I'd be happy to call our first witness.
Okay. Ms. LaShanzi, do we have everything we need exhibit-wise? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right,
All right,
you
so
may
our-
proceed. Thank you, Mr. Tuvel.
Great, thank you. So our first witness I'd like to call is Zach Roskam, so we'll swear him in.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
I do. Sure. My name is Zachary Roskam, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y, Roskam, R-O-S-S-K-A-M-M, and I am one of the co-owners of the applicant. My wife, Shinori, is also here. We are the applicants, and we really appreciate the opportunity to present to you today, the opportunity to potentially come to Bayonne and your time this evening.
All right, so Zach, why don't you just give the board the benefits of your position and your experience with 7 Brew, a narrative just explaining the concept and then go over the operational characteristics?
Yeah, so Shinori and I represent the ownership group. We are the co-owners of the franchisee. We own the state of New Jersey, Philadelphia, with eastern Pennsylvania area around Philadelphia, and Rockland County, New York. We currently have 3 locations open, another 7 that are approved across other townships in New Jersey, 1 in Philadelphia. And Seven Brew is, as Jason mentioned, is a drive-through coffee concept. We also serve tea, lemonade, energy drinks, smoothies, flavored sodas, chai, matcha, and then a packaged muffin top. That is the only food item. There's no food prep. The muffin top is prepackaged. And our unique dynamic with Seven Brew, we are drive-through. So we come to your car to take your order. We're double drive-through. We actually have 2 drive-through lanes around the facility. We come to your car to take your order. We also come to your car to deliver your drink. So you have 2 person-to-person interactions every single time you come to a Seven Brew, always interacting with someone. There's no speaker box. There's no radioing inside. We make your drink on site. We also do not have any DoorDash or delivery or anything like that. So it's always through the drive-thru.
Okay, and can you just explain how many employees you have during a peak shift, what type of deliveries you receive, and also garbage and recycling pickup?
Absolutely. So on a peak shift, we'll have 6 to 8 employees. On a non-peak shift, we'll have 3 or 4 employees. The peak time's usually mid to late morning. Peak during a weekday is typically about 8:30 a.m. to around 10:30 a.m. And on a weekend, slightly later, around 9 a.m. to around 11:30 a.m. Over the course of a week, our employees are primarily part-time, working about 20 to 25 hours a week. So we will have about 50 employees across the week working part-time that we'll be hiring. We do have a lot of shifts to fill. We typically get 2 to 3 deliveries a week. Given they're only beverage products, it is very quick, usually about 15 to 20 minutes. Also, trash pickup is about 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the.
And I know I stated in my opening, but just if you could put it on record, what are the hours of operation during what days of the week?
Absolutely. So 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday through Thursday, Friday and Saturday, 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m.
All right, and I know the parking we'll go into with the traffic engineer, but could you just explain how there's no seating and why the number of spaces we're proposing for this site works from an operational perspective?
Yeah, so we are a drive-through business. So the customer is not coming inside. They actually cannot come inside the building. So the customers go through the drive-through, therefore we do not need parking spots for the customers. So the parking spots are only for employees.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for Mr. Roskam. I just wanted him to go through the operational characteristics, just because it's a new concept to New Jersey, and I wanted everybody to be familiar with it.
Okay, all right, we'll just see if there are any questions
Sure.
from the commission.
Till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday is 5:30 a.m. as well, but we're open till 11. Thank you very much. Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you all.
commissioners? Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, anything from our engineers, planners? No. Okay, you're welcome. Are there any members of the public that have a question? Okay, seeing none,
right.
thank you so much.
All
May
right, thank you,
proceed
Madam
with
Chair.
tonight's witness.
Our next witness is Lindsay Reese with Stonefield Engineering and Design. She's our civil engineer.
Okay. Good evening, Ms. Reese.
Hi. I do. My name is Lindsay Reist, spelled R-E-I-S-T.
All right, and Lindsay, can you go through your qualifications for the board, educational background, licenses held, and experience testifying as a civil engineer in the state of New Jersey?
Yes. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Bucknell University. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, and that license is current and in good standing. I prepared the plans for this project and reviewed the local ordinance as well as the letters provided by the board professionals. I prepared site plans, probably 20 plus 7 Brew site plans specifically, but also several others related to commercial development. Very familiar with this project.
All right, and you've been accepted as an expert by other boards in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, across 6 counties.
Great.
Okay, and we will accept Ms. Rice as a expert witness. Welcome to Bayonne. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so Lindsay, why don't we get the board oriented to the existing conditions very briefly, and then we can go into the proposal that we have before the board.
Okay, I'm going to bring up Exhibit A29, which is an aerial exhibit.
So this is prepared by your office, correct?
Okay. This is aerial exhibit prepared by Stonefield dated 1/13/2026. This is a high-quality recent aerial image depicting the subject property and the surrounding properties and streets. This property is located at the intersection of New Hook Road and New Jersey Route 440 to the west in the northernmost portion of Block 453.03, Lot 1.01. The overall shopping center has an area of 28.5 acres, and our project area is a pad site within the shopping center consisting of approximately 1 acre. The site is accessed from existing drive aisles from Bayonne Crossing Way, which is the internal collector driveway within the shopping center, and access to the overall shopping center is provided via ingress and egress driveways on all 3 frontages, Route 440, New Hope Road, and East 22nd Street to the south. This project area, as previously testified, was occupied by a single-story Sonic drive-in restaurant with drive-through lane and 4 drive-in canopies. Subject site is zoned HC, Highway Commercial, Select Light Industrial, with industrial and commercial uses to the north, east, and south, and vacant land to the west. Now that we're oriented, I will introduce our next exhibit, which will depict the proposed condition,
All right, and just indicate the number of that exhibit as it's listed.
A30.
Okay. Also prepared by Stonefield Engineering, correct? Okay. All right.
This is just a colorized version of the previously submitted site plan with the landscaping shown as well. The proposed redevelopment includes interior and exterior building renovations and improvements to the parking and drive-through configuration. The existing 2,660 square foot building is proposed to remain, and we are not proposing any additions or changes to the footprint of the building. We're proposing to remove the existing Sonic drive-in canopies within the parking area to accommodate 2 drive-through lanes and a pass-through lane. The drive-through lanes are separated by a 2-foot wide striped area, and the lanes themselves are 12.5 feet wide. This is intentionally a bit more than a standard drive-through, as we are providing space for employees to maneuver in between the lanes. As was previously testified, employees will take your order at your car and then deliver it to you in the vehicle, so we need to provide a bit more safe, maneuverable area for employees to walk between the lanes, as well as guide vehicles through the drive-through lane. The pass-through lane has a minimum width of 16 feet, is variable, but that's the minimum. This queue accommodates 29 vehicles, which is anticipated to be more than sufficient to support this proposed development. For reference, the 3 locations in New Jersey that are open have queues of about 20 to 22 vehicles. Given that the menu is limited to beverages and prepackaged snacks only, there's no food prep, so transaction times are reduced from a typical drive-through use. There's a constant flow through the drive-through, and to accommodate that size queue is more than sufficient. The pickup area is not a typical drive-through window. It is a sliding door that we're adding to this existing building. So employees walk out, take orders, and then deliver the orders to customers' cars. We provide 11 parking spaces, dimension 9 by 18, inclusive of 1 ADA space. These are for employees only, as previously mentioned. There's no customer access inside the building, and there's no seating, so those 11 spaces are to accommodate the maximum 8 employees on a peak shift. We do require parking variance, as the calculation is related to square footage of retail sales, and the service area inside the building is 808 square feet, which equates to 33 parking spaces. So the use does not require more than 8 to 10 parking spaces. We're providing 11, so 33 would be excessive for this use. We're also requesting variance relief for minimum parking bay width. So the minimum one-way bay width for 90-degree parking is 42 feet. 37 feet exist today, and 38 feet are proposed, so we are improving the existing nonconformity. We received a few comments from the board engineer regarding ADA compliance. We will provide a crosswalk for safe access to the building from the proposed ADA stall, and we'll address all the ADA and grading-related comments that we received. Deliveries are proposed to take place in the bypass lane, which is oversized and can accommodate a tractor-trailer. Deliveries occur, as previously mentioned, during off-peak hours, 2 to 3 times a week for about 15 minutes, and so we're anticipating minimal impact to drive-through operations, given that the bypass lane is oversized and there's plenty of space for them to quickly unload and then exit the drive-through lane. So there is no dedicated off-street loading space, and one is required, so we're requesting relief for that as well. Any questions so far?
Okay. No, we'll save, thank you for asking, but we will save our questions for your conclusion of your
Okay.
presentation. But
Got
thank
it.
you. You're welcome.
Okay, so with regard to landscaping, in addition to the existing plantings around the site and trash enclosure area, which are proposed to remain, we are proposing a mix of plantings to provide contrasting form, texture, and all-season curb appeal. We prepared a layered planting design to provide color to supplement the existing plantings to remain. This includes shrub clusters around the perimeter of the site. We did receive comments from the board planner to provide additional evergreen shrubs within those proposed shrub clusters and near the trash enclosure. We will provide these to the board planner's satisfaction. We are requesting a street tree design exception where 14 street trees are required based on the requirement of 1 tree per 40 linear feet of street frontage. The site is constrained in a few ways. There's an existing monument sign and utility pole with overhead wires at the hard corner, and we want to ensure visibility of our building from the road so that travelers are able to locate the site and safely navigate to it. So there are 2 existing street trees along Hook Road. Our submitted plan includes 1 additional tree. We are proposing that we add 2 more along Hook Road and then 2 more along Route 440 to minimize site distance impacts while getting us closer to the street tree requirement.
All right, so Lindsay, just to be clear, what's the relief that we're seeking for there? How many are required and how many are we proposing as part of the application?
14 required, 7 proposed.
Okay.
And we'll work with the board planner to provide additional plantings to his satisfaction. We're also requesting relief for the minimum caliper of street trees. The requirement is 3.5 inches, and we're proposing 2.5 inches. The board planner did recommend that that exception be granted for this reduction as it's standard. We have no other objections to the comments provided by the board engineer with regard to landscaping. I'll touch briefly on stormwater. The site is categorized as a minor development from a stormwater perspective, which means that we're not subject to DEP stormwater requirements. The project reduces impervious coverage by 23 square feet and does not result in increased runoff. Also, because we're adding grass areas, water quality will naturally be enhanced with that addition of pervious surface. Drainage is collected by the existing on-site stormwater conveyance system and stormwater detention basin that's underground. That is all proposed to remain. We are proposing to make some minor adjustments to the existing storm structure, rim and grate elevations to accommodate our grading updates, but other than that, we are maintaining the existing stormwater system, reducing runoff into that system. We did receive some stormwater-related comments from the board engineer, which we will work with him to address during resolution compliance. Now I will pull up the colorized elevations that were prepared by
Yeah, Lindsay,
Kinetic.
before you do that, there was a comment both in the engineer's letter and in the planner's letter regarding a lighting plan. We have no objection, to submitting one as part of any condition of approval, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, why don't we go ahead, now you can go to the elevations.
Sure.
Just reference what exhibit that is in the,
A17.
yep. Yep. Those were today's date, right?
Of the rendering? 1/12/26. Okay, these building elevations were submitted as part of our initial application. The exterior building improvements include a new blue brake metal canopy over the drive-through pickup area and a curved blue roof feature on the tower where there previously was a green sonic roof. The blue color is central to Seven Brew branding and provides good contrast between the main building elements. The existing tower height is 25.5 feet and the proposed tower height is 27 feet. The proposed canopy height is 10.5 feet with a 9.5 foot clearance, and there will be signage provided on the canopy with regard to the clearance. The existing neutral beige siding and stone along the bottom and within the tower are proposed to remain. The existing doors and canopies are to be painted to match Seven Brew's branding, so that's a blue and dark gray color scheme as shown in this rendering. The rooftop mechanical equipment will be concealed by the parapet, and there are no changes proposed to the roof. This first page here shows the front and rear facades. We are proposing wall signage on each of these. We have a 28.3 square foot circular logo sign in the top right on the front facade, as well as a 7.7 square foot directional chevron sign on the bottom left for balance. We are requesting variance relief for directional sign area as well as sign height. The ordinance is kind of written to apply to freestanding directional signage. There isn't anything specific related to wall-mounted directional signage, but just to demonstrate compliance with that section, technically we would require relief. The maximum area is 4 square feet, where 7.7 are proposed. We think that the size of the signage balances out, especially on this front facade, and you'll see on the side facade it might even be small relative to the building. So we think it's appropriate and proportional to the building. As for the height of the actual sign is only 1.5 feet, but the height from the ground to the top of the sign on the front facade is 5.75 feet, where 5 is permitted. The height is not imposing, and it's in an appropriate location, we think, to guide motorists once they enter the site. From this angle, when you enter the pad site, you would be directed to the right, whereas on the left side is where the drive-through exit is. So we think it's a useful location and height and size to provide safe maneuvering around the property.
And the directionals don't provide more branding, it's just purely directional as to where to go.
Just says drive-through.
Okay.
These existing doors and windows on the front facade are to remain, but they will be permanently locked. They're more just to provide the appearance of a front of a building, though there's no actual access. So the access would be around the side to the pickup area, which I'll show in a moment. The rear facade, which is facing the north, the hard corner where the intersection is, that will have a 42 square foot 7 brew letters sign. And that view also shows the digital displays, which are under the canopy. They're mounted on the columns. And that just shows menu information, promotional items for customers while they're waiting in their vehicles. This is page 2 of that same exhibit. This is the right facade to the west facing Route 440 and the left facade to the east facing Hook Road, respectively. So on the right side, we're proposing another 42 square foot 7 brew letters sign on the tower. This site contains the pickup area and the proposed canopy, which will serve as the building's principal entrance in the proposed condition. The left facade, we're proposing red chevron directional arrows, again, 7.7 square feet. We will require relief for the area and the height of that sign as well. Regarding freestanding signage, there's an existing sonic panel on the monument sign for this center along 22nd Street, which we will be replacing with a 7 brew panel. That's 14 square feet. We're not proposing any window signage as part of this application.
All right, and then also, Lindsay, if you said it already, I apologize, but any of the rooftop mechanical equipment will be screened, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
There's no changes proposed to the roof, and they're currently screened.
Okay.
I'll briefly discuss the bulk requirements, just for the record, before I turn it over to any questions. So the use, which is commercial retail, is permitted in the HC zone, and the layout meets all bulk requirements within that zone. There are no applicable front or side yard setbacks. The site complies with rear yard setbacks. Lot coverage, the requirement is 65%. Existing shopping center lot coverage is 26.7%, and we are unchanged for the overall shopping center lot coverage. We did calculate what the lot coverage would be within our project site area, which is about 40,000 square feet. That lot coverage would be 7%, so more than complies. Similarly, with unoccupied open space, 15% is required. The existing shopping center is 12%, and the proposed is unchanged overall. The proposed open space within our project site area is 38%. Finally, the maximum building height requirement is 50 feet, whereas 27 is proposed. That concludes my direct testimony. The remainder of any comments that I didn't explicitly address will work with the board professionals to address to their satisfaction.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Anything down the end here, Mr. Slaw?
I have a couple of questions for Ms. Reist.
Mm-hmm.
So In terms of the use of the bypass lane for loading and unloading, you had said that that is, a quick loading, unloading, but what kind of time frame is that actually being blocked?
15 minutes.
Okay, and how are deliveries scheduled? Are you able to discuss that, or is that something?
Yeah, I thought Zach stated that, Brian. I apologize, but we said during off-peak hours, so they would schedule during their off-peak times.
There's not a lot of off-peak time, though, is there?
Well, he indicated, Zach, you want to come back up real quick? Just because you've operated.
Or do you mean off-peak in the sense, not during your peak customer hours?
Correct.
Yeah, peak customer hours. So our peak customer hours are typically 8:30 a.m. to about 10:30 a.m. on weekdays, and about 9:30 a.m. to around 11:30 a.m. on weekends. And we schedule all deliveries to be outside of those hours.
So with your existing 7 brew franchises, where you had noted that during peak hours, you typically have 20 to 22 vehicles stacked for pickup. In off-peak hours, do you know what that number is typically?
We're typically at about, and John, the traffic.
Yeah,
engineer,
we were going to go through
more
that
exact
in the
answers.
traffic testimony, but yes.
But mid-single digits, lower figures.
So in theory, they could be in one lane. In theory, they could be in one lane.
In theory, they could, but we find it to be less efficient for the customers. It does not go as fast.
I'm just thinking that then that would suggest that at some point, you would not have a bypass lane available for a customer if both lanes and the bypass lane are occupied for 15 minutes.
Correct, for about 15 minutes, but this is typically done very early in the morning or in the late afternoon and early evening, where we don't have enough cars in the lanes where we typically are using the bypass lane very often, if at all.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was trying to elicit. Is there still a way to get around when you're having deliveries made, because there's just not that many customers there?
Correct.
And so your answer to that is yes.
We don't have very many customers, so we don't have the need to have them exit through the escape lane. So that would be my answer.
Understood. And in terms of the, yes. So if there's a problem with an order, how is that resolved?
Yeah, so we always have either a shift leader or a manager on staff at all times. They will come out and handle the issue. If the issue is material enough that it's taking a significant amount of time, we can have them pull into the pass-through lane in those instances.
As opposed to a parking space?
Hypothetically, if we had an open parking space, that also works. We have done that in the past.
In terms of your crew members, how are they protected from inclement weather?
So we have the canopy that shields where we are primarily delivering the drinks and also where we're often taking orders, especially in off-peak hours. We also have heaters stationed throughout that area. So we have heaters for all the employees who are going to be outside. And then we also have heavy jackets when it's cold and actually cooling equipment such as misters when it's hot. And then in addition, we rotate our employees inside and outside. So all employees are cross-trained. So when the weather is particularly rough, we will switch inside and outside every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on how rough the weather is. So they'll be working to make the drinks for about 15 minutes and then going outside and taking orders for about 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Those are the
Absolutely.
questions I had.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No?
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna come back to you. All right, no, go ahead and then,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Since you will not be meeting the 14 trees, is the applicant willing to donate to the city's tree fund per tree?
Yeah, as long as there's an ordinance that indicates the amount, we'll look at the ordinance and we can comply with the
It's
ordinance.
$250.
Okay, yeah.
This might be more appropriate for your traffic engineer, but you're willing to submit a site circulation plan for all your design vehicles showing that there's not a conflict?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
do that, that's fine.
There was an item about vehicles parked adjacent to the trash enclosure. Did you look into if there would be a conflict with the doors open if they'll hit a vehicle?
So they wouldn't hit a vehicle. Also, I'll note that those are employee parking spaces only, so they would only be utilized during shift changes when employees are leaving, and that most likely would not happen at the same time as trash delivery or unloading.
And lastly, the utilities that are existing are sufficient enough to service the new restaurant? You're not going to have to make any site improvements for your water services or?
That's correct. We anticipate that, given that the sonic use and usable area within the building is larger, it would be sufficient in terms of intensity of use as compared with our use. And we will submit applications to Veolia and Bayonne Utility Department to verify that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rhodes, you had a question?
How's the transaction completed? Is it an app or cash?
You can let Zach answer that.
Oh, yeah.
So you can actually pay either by credit card or via cash. If you pay by credit card, the person taking your order will then process on the iPad. We have a device that allows you to read a credit card at the car. If you're paying by cash, you pay underneath the canopy right next to the sliding door. There'll be an employee there to take your payment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Mack, anything? No, thank you. Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public that have a question? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Ms. Rice. You can move on to your next witness.
Thank you. Our next witness is our traffic engineer, John Korak, also with Stonefield Engineering and Design.
Good evening. I do. Sure, it's John Korak, last name spelled C-O-R-A-K, with Stonefield Engineering and Design. My office is 92 Park Avenue, Rutherford, New Jersey.
All right. John, do you want to give your qualifications like Lindsay did, educational background, license, current and in good standing, and your experience testifying before similar boards?
Of course. So I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the College of New Jersey. I'm an expert in the field of traffic and transportation engineering. I've prepared over 250 traffic studies for land development applications. I've testified before over 100 boards throughout the state. I also serve as board expert for a handful of municipalities, and my license is current and in good standing.
Okay. We accept Mr. Korak as an expert witness. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
So, John, if you could break down your testimony into three parts. One would be trip generation, the other would be on-site circulation, which includes the queuing, and then also we do need a parking variance. I know Zach spoke to it, but if you could also provide testimony on the justification for the parking variance.
Yeah, of course. So I have back up the the rendering of the site, and this being somewhat of a reoccupation of that sonic drive-in and drive-through restaurant. So we're going from one drive-through use to another drive-through use. We're situated in the Bayonne Crossing Shopping Center. Along Route 440, carries about 40,000 vehicles per day. So the site itself is located a good distance away from any of the existing access points serving the shopping center. So when it comes to the traffic generated by the 7 Brew use, compare that to the Sonic use, especially in Sonic's heyday when it was new and exciting. Certainly not going to be a significant traffic impact, especially as it relates to 440, which carries a substantial volume of traffic. We have received a letter of no interest from the New Jersey Department of Transportation. Of course, they control Route 440. They opine in their letter that the proposed change in tenant will not generate significant increase in traffic, and accordingly, no new access permit is necessary from the department. As it relates to the queuing and stacking, a little bit different than how the Sonic operated, where they had the one drive-through lane and then the drive-in parking stalls. Here we have the double drive-through lane with the staff taking your order right at your car with an iPad. And so this allows for a little bit more operational efficiency, whereas you don't need to wait to get to that menu board at a typical drive-through. Instead, they're coming right to your car, and they're able to get the orders in sooner, can start making your drink orders. Also, not having food orders, it being really exclusively drinks and a prepackaged muffin top, Those things help accelerate the transaction time, if you will, and move customers through the queue very quickly and efficiently. We do have, though, what I would consider to be a substantial queuing area. 29 vehicles can stack here. And, with that extra stacking space means that we're not going to be backing into the shopping center and certainly not out onto New Hook Road or onto Route 440. So really, from a traffic circulation safety perspective, this would have no adverse impact to the shopping center or to the surrounding roadways. Regarding the parking, we do require 37 spaces based on the way the ordinance is written. This project, of course, and 7 Brew operations, they don't do internal orders. There's no going inside. 99% of their orders are handled through the drive-through. So predominantly the parking demand for this is the employees. We've heard from Zach that the employee count at the peak is about 6 to 8 employees. We have 11 parking spaces, which is sufficient to account that employee load if every single employee drove to the site. Overall, I think that this is a good repurposing of this former Sonic use into a new and exciting brand. And the layout of the site works well from a traffic safety and circulation perspective.
All right, and John, the board engineer did indicate in his letter that there was a couple items that he had requested regarding truck turning exhibits. You have no issue providing those, correct?
And no issue providing those. That just reminded me of the one requirement about the drive aisle width at the 90-degree parking spaces. That's the 5 in the back by the trash enclosure. So a 24-foot aisle is typically required for those 90-degree spaces. Given that it's the low turnover, employee-only spaces, a 20-foot aisle is navigable, but it is tight. But generally speaking, employee turnover does occur during those off-peak periods, so you would have the second drive-through lane typically. But a 20-foot wide aisle is something that can be navigated. And given that it's employee-only, you have a familiar driver in those parking spaces.
All right, and then in your professional opinion, the drive-through directional sign is appropriate and helps or facilitates site circulation?
Yes, definitely. These drive-through directional signs are something that customers are looking out for, not just at 7 Brew, but at pretty much any drive-through use to try to navigate sites and understand where to go in the larger scheme of the development of the shopping center.
All right, so to sum it up, the parking, your professional opinion, is sufficient as proposed?
Yes, and providing 37 would be overkill.
And the queuing and circulation works properly?
Yes, and the full bypass is a benefit not only to accommodate the loading, but also during those peak periods, especially in the outside lane. You get your drink order before someone in front of you. You can depart using that bypass lane and continue on your way.
Okay, thank you very much. I have nothing further for Mr. Korak.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, any questions down the end?
No, I thought that was an adequate explanation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you mind just speaking to the cars that are in the outermost drive-through lane yielding to cars in the bypass lane? I just feel like typically when you get a drive-through order, it's like unusual to turn and look for a bypass lane. Is there any concern with that?
Yeah, so fortunately, having had the opportunity to review, physically be at some of these open New Jersey sites, I've seen the operation firsthand. And what happens, one, the bypass lane is fairly infrequently used. Really, it's only the bailout if you got your drink order early. And two, when you have the employees bringing the drinks out to the vehicles, there's a natural staggering that does occur. So it's very rare to have 2 vehicles proceed outward, from those drive-through lanes at the same time. And in the case where that does happen, what we see is that one or both vehicles stop, someone waves on the other one, and eventually everyone files into place and continues on their way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mack, I believe you had
Yes.
something.
Hi, nice to meet you. We haven't worked together. We have worked with Stonefeld many, many times. I was surprised when Pinnakin Tank from DOT called me about your loaning application. I believe you got a letter from him, from Major Access. And I know you represent other clients in that area that also have highway access permits. So I would appreciate it if you would send me a copy of the letter from Pinnakin, so I don't have to get it. He did say that he was a little surprised that you didn't work with the city on getting it, but that's fine. We have several applications down in that area, and the Bayonne Crossings is a highway access permit, 22nd Street is a access permit. I concur totally with him that this was a loaning, letter of no interest. It did not meet any need to do anything more, but just keep us in the loop, because otherwise we have to stay in the loop anyway. So I appreciate you send us the letter. Pinnakin's back now. He was on vacation. So we do have 3 active applications out there right now, so it's helpful to work with you, but we totally concur with DOT that this does not generate a new application, so.
Fantastic. I'll forward that letter.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll see if there are any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Korak. I do not see any, so thank you, Mr. Korak, and you
Yep.
may move to your last witness.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Our last
You're welcome.
witness is our professional planner, Kristen Shepard, from Cafone Consulting Group, so let's swear her in.
I do. Yes, Kristen Shepard. Last name is Shepard, Sheppard.
Okay, good evening.
And Kristen, if you can give us your qualifications as well, educational background, experience testifying before other boards, and whether your license is current and in good standing.
Yeah, sure. I'm a professional planner certified in the state of New Jersey. It is valid and in good standing. I've been AICP certified for the past 8 years, and over the past 10 years, I've created and been part of the implementation of dozens of master plans, of comprehensive plans, including associated zoning ordinance recommendations, and I have prepared numerous planning outlines and provided testimony before land use boards across New Jersey.
Okay, we accept Ms. Shepard as an expert witness. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right, and Kristen, as part of your preparation, you visited the site and the surrounding area?
I did, yes.
You reviewed the relevant sections of the city's ordinance and master plan?
Yes.
And you've heard all the testimony and reviewed all the application materials that are part of the record?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we focus on the variances that we're seeking and the justifications for them?
Of course. So as you know, we're here looking to seek some bulk variances associated with waivers, given that the proposed use is permitted in the HC district. The site has historically been used for this type of use with the drive-through component. So I will speak to some of those variance requests throughout my criteria justifications. So the board has the power to grant a C1 relief variance based on the lawful pre-existing site conditions that create practical difficulty. And in this case, I do believe a C1 applies here. This is a unique parcel of land. It has road frontages on 3 sides, and the application proposal is to repurpose this lawfully existing structure. It was pre-existing as the Sonic, the 2,660 square foot drive-through and restaurant. Alternatively, in the absence of any hardship being found, I actually still believe that the board can also grant relief under the C2, as I find that multiple purposes of the municipal land use law are actually advanced with this proposal. So statutorily, we really have to only advance one purpose for the zoning here with the municipal land use law, but I actually find that multiple are very applicable in this case. And I'll start with Purpose G. So Purpose G generally focuses on providing sufficient space in the appropriate locations for a variety of public and private uses. And as I mentioned, and as has been mentioned before, this proposed use is already zoned in this area. It's specifically a permitted as-of-right use within the HC zone. And it continues a long-standing drive-through and commercial use on the site. Moving into Purpose J, which focuses on prevention of urban sprawl and also avoiding the degradation of the environment, this proposal also involves the reuse of existing fully developed site. It supports reinvestment and avoids outward expansion into underdeveloped areas. Furthermore, I believe that the proposed variance relief, for reduced parking and the no need for the loading space based on the operational model actually decreases impervious coverage, furthering the elimination of the sprawl on the site. And then lastly, Purpose M, I believe, is also satisfied here. So that really focuses on encouraging a more efficient use of the land and the existing infrastructure. So the applicant is making use of an already developed parcel of land by which previously existed as the drive-through. It has existing roadways and utilities, and as already was testified about, there's really no need to expand those. And also, furthermore, the signage variance that's proposed will actually increase the efficiency and ease of wayfinding on this site and also the site circulation. So for these reasons, it's my professional opinion that the positive criteria has been satisfied here and the relief can be granted under the C1 and the C2 variances. So next we have to really address the negative criteria. It's part of a two-prong test for planning. So I'll start with the first prong. The first prong is demonstrating that the proposed use will not cause substantial detriment to the public good. So in this case, the application is repurposing the existing area that is already accustomed to this type of use. The project does not introduce any new access points or roadway changes, and it also improves some existing conditions and any variance that is going to be changing anything is really de minimis minor deviations, none of which adversely affect public safety, circulation, or functionality to rise to the level of substantial, especially in this non-residential location. So based on these factors, I believe that the proposal will not cause substantial detriment to the public good. And then I'll move into the second prong of the negative criteria, which is supporting the goals of the master plan. So Bayonne's 2017 master plan is actually very specific in what they're trying to do with economic objectives, and I believe that this proposed use actually furthers those. And I will specifically speak to purpose number 2 and purpose number 7. I won't read them verbatim, but purpose number 2 is to focus on economic activity, specifically along Route 440. And number 7 is to encourage selected retail, office, and light industrial use in Route 440. So I believe that 7 Brew is probably one of the more perfect niche operations that could be existing in this area. Our office in particular has worked on nearly a dozen of these applications, and every host community who has brought this market niche into their area has been excited about this opportunity, so we're excited to have the opportunity to bring it to Bayonne. So I'll just finalize my testimony with mentioning the Poulin versus South Plainfield Planning Board decision, which is that the board may consider the benefits of the application as a whole when weighing the potential detriments. And in this case, I do find that the benefits do substantially outweigh the detriments here. So it's my conclusion that, in my professional planning opinion, that this application meets its statutory burden of proof and that the entirety of the requested relief should be granted without substantial detriment to the public good or impairment to the zone or the master plan.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Shepherd? Okay, any questions or comments down the end?
No, I think it's covered adequately. I'm not sure I agree with the C1 standard, but I do think it meets the C2 standards.
Okay, thank you, fair enough. Any other comments, questions? Ms. Mack?
I do. Very nice to meet you. We haven't worked together before,
Nice to
but
meet you.
just wanted to clarify, the 2017 was a reexamination of the master plan, not the master plan.
Correct.
So you actually have to go back to the 2000 master plan. Mr. Slough, our master plan type planner, would tell you that we too wish that the 2017 plan was more than the reexamination. We're hoping to do a new one this year. But for clarity's sake, the master plan from 2000 still stands. That was just a reexamination, and we're both happy to have them both and hoping to this year get a new master plan.
Thank you for furthering that clarification. I apologize if that was not clear.
It's just been a very long time, and as you probably were looking at, also the county has also done a reexamination of their master plan in 2018. So it's just, unfortunately, when we go back into it, we have to then go back and say, but by the way, this happened in the 2000 master plan also. So as you move forward with our plans, but it was a very nice presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll see if there are any questions from the public. I don't see any, so thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You're welcome, you too. Thank you.
So that concludes our direct case, Madam Chair.
Okay, and I'll just thank you for that, and I'll just double check that there are no members of the public that wish to make a comment regarding this testimony, this presentation. Okay, with that said, commissioners, any comments? Sure.
Sorry, one more operational question.
Okay.
Regards to the safety employees, is there like a restricted area where they have to stand outside when they come to the cars?
Yeah, so on the inner lane, we'll have an area where they can stand, where it's right next to the building sidewalk where the cars cannot circulate, and then on the middle between the lanes, we have that gore, which is 2 feet wide, where the employees will take the order. So they stand in that 2 feet gore for the outer lane.
Good, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Okay, at this, I will say, thank you for this presentation this evening. I am happy to see that the, Sonic will be repurposed, and, it's an exciting new adventure for Bayonne, and I think it's in a prime location, being in a major pass-through section of 440, so I look forward to it coming. I'm in favor of this project, so with that said, I will make a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
And on the vote?
Chairman Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Great.
The application has been approved.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes,
Good to
and
see
thank you for investing in Bayonne. We appreciate it. Good luck with your business.
Madam Chair,
Okay, next on the agenda?
my apologies. I had another matter to attend, and I ask permission to depart now. It's possible?
Okay,
Absolutely, Mr.
absolutely.
Commissioner Veloz.
Thank you. Have a good evening, Mr. Veloz. Okay, I think we'll read into the record the
Yeah,
next.
Mr. Posada, would you like to set up? Okay, next on the agenda is item number 13, P-25-014, Block 452.02, Lot 5.01, LLC. The site is New Hook Road and East 22nd Street, Block 452.02, Lot 5.01. The applicant is seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval for an interim use of a commercial parking facility consisting of 350 parking spaces with related site improvements along with bulk variance relief. Matthew Posada is the attorney for the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Posada.
Good evening, everyone. As just previously stated by the board attorney, my name is Matthew Posada. I'm from the law firm Sills, Cummis & Gross, and I represent the applicant, who is here tonight presenting an application for preliminary and final site plan approval for a temporary commercial parking facility that could potentially host up to 350 parking spaces. This application is a little bit different than most applications that have come before this board. Specifically speaking, most applications that come before this board are part of either a redevelopment plan or they're part of the actual zoning regulations of this municipality. This is a little bit different, and what I mean by that is that this project itself is actually part of a settlement agreement that was entered into between the city zoning board of adjustments, as well as two private entities. As part of that settlement agreement, the parties agreed that they would work together in conformity and cooperation in order to create a new project along Route 440 that would have multiple different uses. But however, as one could imagine, when you involve multiple parcels, when you have multiple government agencies, these things do take time. So because of that, the parties agreed that in the interim, while the parties work together to try to collaborate to bring in a new project to fruition, that the actual property owner himself would be able to have some type of interim use to defray the cost while we go through the local redevelopment and housing procedures in order to bring a new project to fruition. I am happy to report that the parties have been cooperating and working well and moving the ball along forward. As you can see, tonight's application is before you because as part of that process, we had to amend the redevelopment plan to allow for this interim use. We've also had an opportunity of also studying one of the subject properties to include as an area in need redevelopment, and I just say this by way of background to show that progress is being made. And it's important to note that because, as I'm sure you guys probably already saw in your professional reports, this site itself is an interim use, and in order to motivate all parties involved, especially the applicant, in order to cooperate in good faith to bring in a new project, this project itself has a sunset period, okay? The project itself is only, if this board will find in favor of it, to last up to only 2 years. In the event that the applicant would request an additional year, because we weren't at the stage yet to start constructing whatever project ends up becoming agreed upon amongst the parties, they can come back to the board and ask for another year extension, but such extension would have to show good cause, meaning that we are that much more further along down the road to getting to a new project. So again, I'm happy to report to say that we have had meetings with the city. We have proposed amendments to the redevelopment plan. We have included new areas to be designated as an area in need of redevelopment, but that's as far as we've gone so far, and we hope to carry the ball that much further throughout the time period itself. I apologize for boring you guys with extra details, but I really want to double down the fact that this project itself is just temporary in nature. So what we're trying to do is do our very best of addressing all the comments and concerns of not just the city and also the state as well, including stormwater management and traffic. But please do bear in mind that more than likely, within 24 to 36 months of being issued a CO, all these improvements are going to be pulled right out for a larger project. Again, as mentioned before, this project is part of the Site 14 Scattered Site Redevelopment Plan, which was amended to allow this interim use. The interim use, again, would be for commercial parking facilities. As part of the settlement agreement, we had reached an agreement where we would be allowed to park what could fit in the space. And the intention was specifically to ensure there wouldn't be tractor trailers coming into the site, and this would all of a sudden be a glorified tractor trailer terminal for overnight parking. Rather, again, it is only for what can fit in the actual 12 by 30 space itself, and you'll hear more testimony tonight about that. And our idea in mind is essentially getting either a tenant, something like an Amazon with their Sprinter vans, who have reached out to us, or Tesla for their cars. It would be long-term parking, so it's not something where Amazon Sprinter vans come in at night and they all shoot out, but rather it would be a staged, controlled, long-term parking facility that would not be owner-operated, but tenant-operated. Tonight, I'm going to have 3 witnesses. I'm going to have my civil engineer, my traffic engineer, as well as my planner put on testimony, and will also be available, and I can make any comments regarding site operations along with the engineer himself. We are in receipt of this municipality's professional reports for both civil engineering as well as planning, and we've had an opportunity to review it, and we will be testifying to those requests that they have made. We have served adequate public notice and also submitted affidavits for same, so I believe this board has jurisdiction. And if I may, I'd like to call my first witness.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. I'd like to call up my civil engineer, Tori.
Mr. Posada, would you like to ask the board to accept your exhibits?
Yes, please. My ex-
Be noted for the record that original exhibits A29 aerial map and A30 site plan were received by the land use office today.
yes, we would ask that the board accepts A1 through A30.
Okay,
into
we'll
the
accept the exhibits into evidence.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to?
I do. Yes, my name is Tory Bingaman, T-O-R-Y, Bingaman, B-I-N-G-A-M-A-N.
Tori, can you please provide your educational credentials and whether or not your license is still in good standing?
Yes, I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Lafayette College. I've been working in the field of civil engineering for about 10 years. I'm a licensed professional in the state of New Jersey, and my license is in good standing.
Great. And can you please just name 3 boards we've been qualified before in the past as an expert in civil engineering?
I've been qualified before the boards of Hanover Planning Board, Hamilton, City of Hamilton, Town of Hamilton, and Township of Woodbridge.
Terrific. Does this board accept him as an expert in civil engineering?
Yes, we accept Mr. Bingaman as an expert witness, and welcome.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Tori, did your office have the opportunity of preparing these site plans?
Yes, we did.
And did you have an opportunity to review the site plans, including the stormwater investigations?
Yes, I have.
Great. Why don't you walk us through what we're proposing here today, and then also, including in your testimony, please identify and address those comments and concerns of the board's professionals.
comments. So to begin, I'll start with a review of the aerial map exhibit noted as A29, correct? So A29, just to familiarize the board with the site, is located formerly at block 45202, lot 5.01, along Route 440. It is also at that intersection with New Hook Road and the Jug Handle Ramp C, which is located on the plan. The site is immediately across from the Bayonne Crossing Shopping Center, which the board is obviously familiar with. It is immediately north of a lot owned, Lot 4.01, to the south, which is a city-owned lot, as well as another lot to the south west, the former Bayonne Industries tank farm site, all of which is going to be part of the overall future redevelopment of this parcel, or this tract, rather. Under the existing conditions, the property in question has a number of nonconformities, the main one being the acreage of the site that's required within this redevelopment zone, where 10 is required, and the site itself is 7.28 acres. The other existing nonconformities, which will be addressed as part of the proposed development, include the lot coverage and conversely the open space, where 85% is the maximum permitted lot coverage, but under the existing conditions between the former foundation of the Clayton Block manufacturing facility as well as the surrounding compacted gravel driveways and parking areas make up about 97.3% impervious coverage on the site. The site currently has one point of access along southbound Route 440. It is a right-in, right-out only. Under the existing conditions, the site generally slopes toward Route 440. There's some existing drainage infrastructure that connects into the DOT drainage system. The site is also located within a flood hazard area, and the project itself has been submitted to NJDEP and received approvals for the flood hazard verification and individual permit for the proposed development, which I'll touch on more later. If there's no questions on the existing conditions, I'd like to move on to my next exhibit.
No, that's fine. We'll ask any questions at the end of your testimony. Thank you, though.
All right, so I'll be now referring to Exhibit A30.
Correct.
Which is the site plan rendering. It's a colorized version of the site plan that was submitted with this application, and it also depicts the proposed landscaping as well. So as mentioned, the site is in that West Route 440 redevelopment area, and we'll be proposing a temporary parking facility primarily focused on the long-term parking and storage of vehicles as described by Mr. Posada. This will include 350 12 by 30 parking spaces, as mentioned, to accommodate potentially a larger fleet-style vehicle. The maneuverability around the site can accommodate those vehicle movements as well as larger vehicles. I know the board's professionals have requested some additional turning movements be provided, and our office can provide those if the board accepts this application. There are no proposed buildings on the site, and we do have some signage along the site frontage. At the driveway, there is a proposed monument sign, which will include the parking, hours of operation, and contact owner information as required. There's also some incidental signage that's related to the flood hazard area approval, which has to note that the site and the driveway and portions of the area on site are subject to flooding as they are below that flood hazard elevation as determined by DEP. Under the proposed condition, the access will remain using that same driveway on Route 440. Our office has been in contact with the board's engineer regarding the condition of that driveway, and it's acknowledged that there's some deterioration in there, and as part of the application, the applicant would prefer to defer any repairs to that and monitor that and make sure, in the event that the use does require repairs, those be addressed as needed, but not immediately, just in the interest of forgoing any additional DOT permitting. In terms of the site circulation, I already touched on, but this will be able to accommodate the anticipated vehicles that will be using the site. From an operations standpoint, it's anticipated that there will be very few instances where a larger tractor-trailer would be accessing the site. Although, as I mentioned, it is anticipated that, and we can provide the turning templates to demonstrate that that vehicle could maneuver the site if it was the case. The board's professionals also noted that currently there are no proposed ADA or electrical vehicle parking spaces. If those are required, the plans can be revised to accommodate that, although this will be a private lot and it's not anticipated that those will be needed, but in the event that the user is a electrical vehicle company, then that may be an opportunity where the EV would be required or needed necessarily, but it's certainly feasible because we will be doing site lighting, which would, obviously use the same electrical conduit being provided for that. There's currently no loading or dedicated refuse recycling spaces. It's not anticipated that those will be required for this use. In terms of landscaping, plans are compliant with the redevelopment plan landscaping requirements, with a couple of exceptions, which I'll note. Within the board professionals' letters, they noted a requirement for 10% of the parking area to be landscaped, as well as 1 shade tree required per every 20 spaces. While we are complying with the shade tree requirement within that parking area because of the nature of the temporary use, it wouldn't be feasible to provide landscape islands within this this parking area, but we feel based on the additional landscaping that's being provided here and the reduction in overall impervious, we're meeting the spirit of that requirement. Otherwise, the rest of the landscaping comments by the board's engineer, we feel we can address with plan revisions. In terms of the site lighting, we will be proposing 26 new poles. The lighting design will comply with the redevelopment plan requirements. There was a note in the board engineer's letter as well, requesting that the light levels be reduced to be closer to the 1.5 foot candle minimum, where currently I believe 2.9 is proposed on average. So we can certainly work with that, with the board engineer to adjust that lighting design to accommodate the lower light levels and further minimize any spillover potential. But currently, as designed, there is not any anticipated. In terms of the operating times, the end operator and tenant would be required to comply with the RDP requirements for the illumination. So within a half an hour of the cessation of general operations, this lighting would need to be shut off, or at least 3/4, that being 1/4 remaining on overnight for operations and security purposes. And if required, a lighting study can be provided after the fact to confirm the accuracy and the adequacy here. Moving on, we have stormwater management. As noted, the board engineers, our office coordinated with the board engineer to review the stormwater comments that were provided in his letter. And as I previously mentioned, this application was submitted to the NJDEP for a flood hazard area verification and individual permit. As part of that application, the site was deemed to be adequate in accordance with the applicable NJC 7:8 stormwater rules that were in place at the time of that application. After reviewing same with the board's engineer, they were in agreement that that would be acceptable for this temporary interim use, and that any future development would need to comply with the current flood hazard and stormwater regulations. In terms of the utilities, currently the only anticipated utility that will be required for this site will be the electric service, which will be provided by PSE&G. In terms of the outside agency approvals, we will be requiring a waiver from Hudson County Planning Board And then the Soil Conservation District will require an application as this site will disturb more than 5,000 square feet of disturbance. And I think concluding, again, there's a few variances which our planner and traffic engineer will touch on more, but I'll just note here, the requirement for the minimum lot area is not met. It's an existing nonconformity, where 7.8 acres is the size of the lot, where 10 acres is required. There's a relief required for the incidental sign for the flood hazard area. We will also need some relief for the fencing around the site. So I think I may have neglected to mention the fencing, but there will be fencing provided surrounding the site. It is intended for that fence to be 6 feet all the way around the site, and that will require relief along the frontage where the redevelopment plan requires a 4-foot maximum height, and for that to be a decorative fence. But in the interest of having a consistent and uniform fence around the site, we'd be looking for relief for that 6-foot high fence. And then there is some additional relief potentially as it relates to the screening along that fence, which I think we would work with the board's professionals to adequately address to their satisfaction. And I believe that concludes my direct. And Matt, I don't know if you had anything else?
No further questions for this witness.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? A question? Yeah, go ahead.
Currently, it's unoccupied. It was a former, the Clayton Block manufacturing facility, so that was demolished, I believe, in mid-2020, and has since been vacant with, I think, some kind of transient storage operations happening, but currently, there's no use on the site. It's not actively used. 350 spaces. So the operations will really depend on the tenant, and I think, our traffic engineer can talk to more of the operations aspect of it, but it's anticipated that this will be a long-term parking facility. Vehicles will be stored here and then picked up on a regular basis. They'll be dropped off. I don't know that there's a definite in terms of the time period, but it's intended to serve as long-term storage. So the idea being you bring the car in, it stays there until someone buys it or it needs to get taken to the actual dealership lot, and then it gets picked up on a flatbed or something like that, or driven off the site by an operator, and leaves the site in that manner. But it's right now the applicant is trying to keep the options open and really maximize the yield here, and give themselves that flexibility on potential tenants and uses.
And just to add to that real quick, the idea in mind is that it would be tenant operated, and whatever that third party would need in order to adequately control the site operations as well as the deliveries would be consistent with whatever their business operation is. But the idea in mind is that they cannot, again, park any tractor trailers. If there were to be a tractor trailer on site, hypothetically speaking, it would only be for the delivery of, let's say, Tesla cars, and then they would immediately leave the site itself. Those deliveries would also be controlled so that we knew what times they were coming in to not cause any actual traffic to the accessibility of the site itself. As far as it goes with facilities, there are no proposed improvements. This is simply a glorified parking area for long-term parking. Correct. Correct. So it's not a situation where you would have multiple parties throughout the day coming in and coming out that can't be controlled, moving cars in and out, whereby hypothetically speaking, for random purpose between trip hour of 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., you have an uncontrolled amount of individuals coming to the site to pick up the cars and leave the cars. No, that's not what we're intended to do here. The idea in mind is that we would have a tenant that would operate a business where they can control the deliveries and departures within a specific time frame. And again, it's for long-term parking. I just wanted to clarify that because I know that was a question of the board's professionals. We would put it in the lease. Yes, that is correct. And again, I want to reiterate, it's for temporary commercial parking, so they understand that the lease itself would be for 2 years with the potential for extra year, but that's it. There's a sunset clause in there. And they would also have to understand that in the lease itself, it would specifically say that there would be no parking of tractor trailers, and that the parking itself would have to be long-term parking.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rhodes, you had a question?
Well, you said there's going to be a tenant there working the gate? Is that?
No, there would not be a tenant there regularly. I think it would be, as needed. If a pickup is scheduled or a drop-off is scheduled, the tenant operator would go to the site, unlock the gate, open the gate. I don't believe it's anticipated that there would be a full-time tenant on site. Possibly for security, there may be regular security visits to the site, but beyond that, I don't think it's anticipated that there would be a full-time tenant.
Secured gate?
Yes.
So that brings me to a question. Looking at the rendering, so if there is someone who potentially is coming to open this gate, and let's say they're not there, and we're envisioning, let's say Tesla bringing trucks in, and I don't know if they're inside of, an 18-wheeler or how they come in. But is there enough space that a truck could be off of the main highway, not obstructing traffic, to potentially be let into this facility? I'm just thinking of the traffic. I know we have a traffic engineer coming, but I'm just thinking of, because it's more of an engineering, component, is there enough room for someone to potentially pull up, wait at a gate? Or is that gate closer to the roadway where someone's kind of hanging into traffic?
Sure. So I guess, Tori, the question is, considering where the proposed site location would be for the gate itself to enter into the parking facility, is there enough of a setback where, let's say, a WB 67 could adequately park and be off of Route 440 without impending or interrupting the traffic flow of Route 440?
Like,
Right.
is it set back enough on that, I can see that little cut there.
Yeah. And that gate's set back 50 feet from the right-of-way. It's a DOT requirement, and that should provide adequate space. Again, we're going to provide turning circulation movements. If there's any issue with that, we can adjust that
Okay.
setback to make sure that we could accommodate it, but I don't anticipate any issue.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then the person coming would have enough room to also get in there and unlock the gate if they weren't there yet? So if I'm coming, I have enough room to pull around this truck and
Right,
unlock?
that driveway, I believe, is
Wide enough to accommodate both a large truck and, let's say, a pickup truck or something coming to unlock it?
correct. It's about 48 feet wide, so
Okay.
it's more than enough room to have
All
side
right.
by side.
That answers my questions. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Rhodes?
And the tenant, do you know any tenants that you have in mind? Because, it's kind of broad when you say tenants.
Yeah.
We just don't want, I don't want to insinuate anything like stolen cars over there or something like that,
I can tell you that we have had a conversation with Amazon for the parking of their sprinting vans, not for daily use, but for long-term parking, as well as Tesla as well for long-term parking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Our board professionals, down the end?
So there is car importation, I believe, still taking place in this area, new cars coming from overseas. And so is it intended that vehicles coming in that way would be stored at this location? It's kind of an interim place.
Potentially, yes.
So brand-new cars often have a lot of protective wraps and cardboard and things of that nature that are in the vehicles to protect them in storage, shipment. And it isn't clear that that material would be removed before it came to this lot. Hence, some question about trash collection and storage, plus the lot itself, I think being across from a shopping center, is likely to collect trash just from that, and being on a 6-lane highway. Hence the question about trash collection. Even if there's no trash facilities per se on the site, I think that needs to be addressed also, about how the operation would keep the site clean from its condition today.
I think it would be acceptable, as long as you found to be acceptable as well, obviously, that as a condition of approval, if this board would find in favor of the application, that they would have to enter into a contract with a third-party refuse hauler. That contract would also have to be reviewed by the municipality's engineer to confirm same for adequate pickup.
In other words, the lot has to be policed to pull trash out. The other
Correct.
thing would be whether there's going to be video camera surveillance of the lot, and whether it's a large lot. It strike me as an inviting target because it's not manned. You've got one gate. How easy is that to open before anybody can realize? And you have vehicles that could easily be stolen off the lot. So is there an expectation that the lot will have camera surveillance, and how will that be monitored?
It is my understanding that there will be surveillance for the subject site, and that would be monitored by the operator himself, the L Group.
Do they have experience in monitoring operations like this?
That I couldn't speak of specifically for site operations such as commercial parking. I can say that they do have surveillance for their other assets, but specifically to mimic this proposed asset, that I couldn't opine on.
So I think the board should consider strongly about having as any kind of condition that there is adequate security monitoring of the site. Sometimes there's direct feeds to police as well that happen with commercial properties like this. So I don't know if we have such a thing in Bayonne, but I know of that in other municipalities. Whether the police would want it or not is an entirely different question, but I just put that out there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Slow. Okay, any other items?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to reiterate, you're not parking tractor trailers, but you do expect them to come on to the site. You're confident that they'll be able to make all the turning movements within the parking lot without any issues?
Yes, that's correct.
Just to review what you discussed with the landscaping plan, since this isn't the final condition, you don't want to necessarily plant all the required trees on the site because the final condition is not known at this time, so you wouldn't want to rip up all the landscaping that you just installed?
Correct. I think that would be as it relates to some of the landscaping along the site frontage, and I think maybe toward that ramp, correct? Is that, along the rear of the site where we do have that residential by the IMTT park, we do have a substantial amount. That's where the majority of the planting is going to go, so we'll have that screening from that residential area. But yes, I believe what you're getting at along the frontage of the site and the ramp portion, we'll be keeping the existing vegetation for the most part there with some supplemental landscaping. But we also have an easement with a gas line along a portion of that frontage as well that we wouldn't be able to provide planting in, and we work with the board professionals to provide some screening in terms of additional fence screening to accommodate that or offset that.
And just to review what you had mentioned about the driveway apron, it's obviously in poor condition. I understand the want to not have to replace it because the more you have to coordinate with the DOT, the longer your job is going to take. If it is that significant of a hardship and you don't want to replace it, you'd be willing to, at the very least, if you come in at a later date to get at the end of the 2 years when you want to come back for an extension, you would be willing to reevaluate it and replace it as needed?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be able to communicate with the DOT at the same time you need to tie into that existing inlet? You wouldn't be able to group that together and replace the driveway apron at the initial construction?
We could potentially accommodate that. We will need to coordinate with DOT for the drainage connection, as you noted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mack?
Hi, I'm over here. Sorry, I'm to your back. I wanted to go back to the comments from from our engineer. They said the testimony would be provided. First of all, I don't know how many people in this room understand this site. It's very complicated, and I applaud Mr. Posada for moving this project along. But it's a very complicated area because it not only has DOT restrictions, but it also has, it has now been just designated by the state of New Jersey as a brownfield development area, which offers opportunities, but of course offers also regulations. And I don't even know if you followed that because I have not spoken to you about this since I think I told you last year that we were doing a BDA, but we have now done that. So the area is, under DEP, we're working on cleanups, all sorts of other stuff. But when we get back to, and I know Mr. Slough was very good to accommodate the amendments that were required by the court order, I appreciate that. But in Greg's comments, he said that, and I'm assuming that, I didn't hear, you said that you reviewed the comments, but did you accept the comments? Usually, you might say that a little later in the testimony. But they're discussing IMTT Halecki Park as a possible contribution, community contribution for improvements. And I just want to put on the record that that's under DEP, but it's also under Green Acres. So I'm more informational to you that, yes, I would love to see somebody do improvements. That park is beautiful, by the way, but do improvements down there. But it says in the comments that testimony would be provided tonight. More important to me, and it may be the traffic engineer, but I don't think we have to get that far, it says that safety improvements for pedestrians as part of the jug handle expansion. And I haven't looked at the site plan, and I was wondering if somebody could comment on what that is, because I have to tell you, that is DOT. So I would like, this is an interim use, I'd like it to move forward. I don't think you've gone for a pre-application meeting with DOT yet, because at least Pennican hasn't told us that you have. But, I would encourage you to get on the list. We have about five permits out there right now, and there's a lot of things that interface with each other. But I'm with who just suggested that 2 years from now, when you get through your interim use, you'd have your pre-application, you'd do all that, except if you're touching that jug handle is DOT's, and you need to talk to us, and we have to go down with you, because you won't get through it otherwise. We've had a number of meetings, and especially because it's an active now New Jersey DEP brownfield development area, which is to the good, because things are going to get cleaned up, but it's a very active site, as I believe Matt knows. So I hate to see you try to do things complying with all the requirements that we have here without talking to us about how we can maybe help you get through some of this, because some of it's complicated, as you may know what that means.
And we absolutely do appreciate Ms. Mack's comments. I think she's putting it very mildly that it is complicated with the other governmental agencies. She's very humble. But I will say that first, regarding the professional reports we received from the board, we do agree to comply with all the comments except for those that we testified to tonight about working with the board's professionals. And as regarding the actual park itself, again, we're going to work with the board professionals, and we're either going to do the construction for those improvements ourselves, meaning the applicant, certainly not me, or else it would fall apart, or a cash contribution that was reached upon as a settlement agreement as far as the township thinking that it's an equitable contribution.
Sada actually worked for a company that was very involved with this site in one of his former lives. I worked with John Casala, who actually has been handling this with us for DOT. But again, I believe they will get a LONI, a letter of no interest. That's been mentioned before. It will not need a new permit. But if you're saying you're expanding or doing anything on that jug handle, that's an immediate item. You're not going to be able to touch that without getting them involved. Get a playground, but that's a beautiful park. I don't know how many people actually go out to Halecki Park. It's absolutely phenomenal out there.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question?
I got one more question. For the automobile transporter, do you have a location where they're going to drop off the cars, if you're going to be using those?
We don't have a dedicated loading area at this time. If, you know, again, it's not anticipated there's going to be multiple vehicles on site at the same time or drop-offs happening at the same time. So the drive aisles are 30 feet wide. You know, typically that would be, you know, enough to accommodate a drop-off of, say, off of a flatbed or something like that. And then from there be, you know, relocated into one of the stalls.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public that have a question? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Posada, you can move to your second witness.
Absolutely. My next witness will be my traffic engineer, Craig Paraguay, also from Dynamic Engineering.
Good evening.
Hello. Yes, I do. Craig Paraguay, P-E-R-E-G-O-Y. With
Okay.
Dynamic Traffic, 245 Main Street, Chester, New Jersey. For the record, I've testified here many times.
Yes, we accept you as an expert witness. Welcome back.
My license is still current.
There you go.
Thank
There
you.
go.
Craig, did your office have an opportunity to prepare a report entitled Circulation and Parking Assessment for the subject property?
We did.
And also that assessment was contemplating the proposed use that we're discussing here tonight?
Yes.
Why don't you walk us through your findings and conclusions?
Sure, and a lot of the discussion was already had. Sue was talking about the DOT stuff, which was part of the reason that I'm actually up here testifying instead of just sitting in the back, but I'll go through it a little bit. Again, this is a long-term parking facility. DOT actually does have rates, trip rates for a long-term parking facility. They also have a parking lot, which I think was mentioned in the review letter. The parking lot would be open to the public, people going in and out. It could serve some adjacent use or be a park and ride. That's not this. So what we're doing is indeed the long-term parking. And based on the DOT's numbers there, it generates very little traffic realistically. There'll be days probably when nobody goes in and out of here. But based on the DOT numbers, it would generate about just under 20 trips in a peak hour. I don't think you're ever going to see that. When you had the manufacturing plant there, it was certainly a lot busier. You had employees in and out every day, tractor trailers. There was a truck parking operation that was going on there for a little while. So this is a much quieter use than what's been going on out there. And importantly, it's below what DOT calls a significant increase in traffic, which if you generate more than 100 peak hour trips, then they would require us to get an access permit. If we needed to get an access permit for this site, they would make us reconstruct that entire driveway, put sidewalks, and all kinds of things that we do want to do when we get to the ultimate development, but there's no reason to do that for this. Basically a continuation of sort of a industrial type of use or not a use that's open to the to the public or has residents. So ultimately, we will do that pre-app meeting that Sue was mentioning with the DOT. We will be involved with the other applications and coordination. That driveway will be located where it makes sense for the new plan rather than permitting it where it is now and then letting that tail wag the dog for the redevelopment. So the idea is to keep everything in the DOT right away the same. We do need to go for a drainage permit, which we'll need to do a traffic control plan for that. We can extend that into the driveway area to do the repairs on the curb apron. We can replace anything in kind that's there. We just can't do a new driveway. Or more importantly, that I think should give you comfort, we can't do anything that's going to generate significant traffic, or then we would need the DOT permit. So we're constrained not only by the requirements here and what we're representing, but by DOT's standards as well. I think that really covers it. I know you guys discussed a little bit more when Sue was mentioning the DOT, so I don't want to beat that to death. I think everybody understands the goal here.
And the prior comment that we heard from this board was regarding actual setbacks for the gate itself. Would it also be your testimony that a tractor trailer could pull up, and if the gate weren't open, they wouldn't interrupt?
Yeah, we'll make sure that that gate's positioned so that was a good point, to make sure that a tractor trailer, if you know, ultimately it's going to be driven by the tenant that's here. If it's Tesla, you probably would have tractor trailers. If it's Amazon just storing their Sprinter vans, that would just be those driving in. But whatever vehicle is the design vehicle that will be the ultimate user, that gate will be set far enough back so they don't hang out onto the road. What we're showing now is just the minimum requirement from DOT, which is 50 feet, and that was just sort of like set that place to design the rest of it. But the gate, the physical location of it will be far enough back.
And it would also be far enough back, and the driveway apron would be substantial enough where you could fit two vehicles parallel in the event that another truck had to come over to open up the gate?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question, just along the lines of what you were discussing. Looking at the angle, is there a reason, I know you want to keep the curb cut where it is for the reasons explained, but the angle just seems, if I'm pulling in a very large truck, is there going to be any concerns for oncoming traffic? You know, I'm swinging out as I'm turning into that, because I'm just thinking it would have been, to me anyway, what do I know? Just pulling in kind of at less of a harsh angle would be a quicker entry. Is there some reason that the design is making such a hard right turn into that lot?
It's the existing driveway. It's a driveway that Clayton Block was using there. And somehow over time, I think interior to the site, it got a little
wider,
bit wider.
it seemed.
So that's why it looks like that. But it's a little bit deceptive because these are oversized parking spaces in the event that there'd be Sprinter vans. So that driveway is much wider. I thought the same thing. I said,
Okay.
"Well, I hope a truck can make it." It's no problem. They get in and out easy.
So it's
much
not
bigger
really,
than it appears.
so it's not really a 90-degree angle. You're coming in at a slightly different angle than what it appears.
Yeah, and it's wide enough that if I were to draw, like you're saying, inside, it would almost fit inside of that driveway. It's almost like an oversized.
Okay, so it could almost go at an angle as it's going in rather than that hard right with the back of the truck swinging into traffic. Because that's what I'm just picturing, you know, people who are, you know, someone decides instead of going across the jug handle, I'm going to make that quick right, and now they go right into the back of a tractor trailer. They're taking their time thinking there's no one coming behind me, but some person doesn't follow the, you know, just trying to think ahead so that we don't have any traffic issues, because we know that there's a lot of traffic on that, you know, on 440 at certain hours of the day. So I'm glad to hear that it has enough to accommodate, you know, not a speedy entry, but quick enough that it's not obstructing traffic.
Well, and keep in mind, if we're having a tractor trailer and there will be so few and far between, they're going to be pulling in, there's nobody on the other side coming out, so they've got that whole driveway, so it's a much easier move. I thought the same thing, when it's deceptive because of how that morphed over time, I guess, but it does work.
Okay, all right, perfect, thank you so much. Any other commissioners, questions? I see Ms. Mack, you have your hand up? No?
Commissioners, please, I'm sorry.
I don't think any commissioners have questions, so the floor is yours.
Again, it's a little bit informational, but informational for the board. We've been to DOT several times on this. We can only have one driveway on 440 between the jug handle and 22nd Street. And actually, we have to share the driveway. We own property ourselves. The city owns property, and we have to share the driveway. I'm hoping as we continue on this, maybe they'll let us work it out a little bit more, you know, reconfigure it a little bit more, but that question's been asked and answered. We can only have that one access point, or 440, which goes back to my real concern tonight is the jug handle. You cannot have any access off the jug handle, either in or out, and so that's why I'm just saying be considerate of that, because that's DOT's jug handle.
Yes, they're very protective of ramps. If it says ramp on their maps, there's no way you're getting a driveway.
And just my opinion, this would be permittable for Ohlone as long as you're not doing construction, and you know, you have to get your drainage permit, and you're not upsetting the jug handle, you know. And I believe this qualifies for Ohlone.
Yeah, it will, but we will need those other permits from DOT. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mack. Down the end?
nothing of this witness.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Isigno, I see your hand coming out over the screen here. Come on up. Mr. McDonough, you're going to have to wait a moment. Okay, Mr. Isigno, go ahead with your question.
Mike Masigno, 42 West 23rd. Because I was looking at this, I'm trying to figure it out. New Hook Road and 22nd Street. You mean this is between New Hook Road and 22nd Street on 440?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you come down 30th Street, coming west, go past Lincoln School, you hit 440, and you make a right on 440 from 30th, then you come around that jug handle.
If you come around that jug handle, then you can't get into the site. The site's
Right,
for
and the
traffic
jug
only.
handle takes you to 440, and you got to go straight, and that takes you to the new 7 Brews.
That'll take you to 7 Roads, right on there, across the
Yes,
street. Yeah.
7, okay, right. So I'm just trying to get the area location here, because I'm sitting there, I'm trying to figure that out. With the old Clayton block, okay.
Yeah, you can
And so
see the
this,
7 Brew site on the plan,
Yes.
200 feet away.
so I'm clear here now, yeah. And when you say, what I get with the traffic, okay, so it was a lot of traffic when Clayton Block was there.
Yeah.
But when Clayton Block was there, nothing else was here. There wasn't a shopping center, there wasn't all these other operations going on at 440, and the buildings, and the great buildings they put around that area. I'm just curious now, so this is going to be like a carport transport lot?
Yeah, it's
And now-
long-term storage,
Right.
infrequent.
Now, there's going to be car carriers coming in and out.
If, there could be, if that's the tenant that's there, that's a possibility.
Right. I'm just saying, you're bringing this car carrier transport lots into the middle of this area we're trying to redevelop with the apartments and the shopping and stuff like that. Carport transports take up space, they back traffic up. Now, if it's not, let's say car transports, if they're driving it off the ride-on, ride-off ship, you're still going to have a bus in there to take the drivers that drop the cars off for the long-term sitting there to take them away, right?
Yeah,
I'm just,
if the cars were driven in individually, presumably, yeah, shuttle would pick them up. I would imagine it would be more like the car carrier would drop them off, and then for Tesla, for example, when somebody buys one, oh, we have it on this lot in Bayonne, they would go get it on a flatbed, regular tow truck, and bring it back out to the.
yeah, because I've seen operations on the other side in Newark Bay with the car transports and changing in the cars, and then and if they drop them off, they like to pick some up too to go out. If you're a truck driver, you hate to leave empty.
Yep.
I'm just saying. So it's,
Could be.
to me, it's going to be quite an operation. I know what I'm hearing everybody saying. You're just going to park a car and they won't even touch it for a few months. I don't know anybody that wants to buy 350 cars and let them sit there. That's all I'm saying. And also, with the traffic, and I've gone there a few times, coming 30th, you got to go straight across. No turn or anything like that. That's why you have the jug handle.
Right.
And there's no turns allowed. And coming back from, let's say, Delta Storage, you're coming east, you're going west. You can't make a left on 440. People are starting to make lefts. The traffic situation there, as more truck traffic and everything, when they open up Exxon back there, those warehouses are opening. That little intersection there, let's say, like the Costco problem, that's building there right now. Because cars are making the lefts onto 440, and cars that do that little jug handle say, uh-oh, I made a mistake, hey, shoot around this way. I'm just saying that little intersection, if everybody's aware of it, it's going to get pretty busy. I'm just giving you the heads up, not being a traffic guy, but look out. You're the traffic guy.
Thank you, Mr. Isigno. Any other members of the public have a question? Okay, seeing none, thank you. I think Mr. McDonough, you're on deck.
Yes, I do.
I'd qualify you, but it seems like they already know who you are.
As long as it's all current, Mr. McDonough, we accept you as an expert
Current and
witness.
in good standing for another year, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll ask you the same question in a year then.
All right.
Got my credits in, Brian.
Okay, we're ready.
John, have you had an opportunity to review the proposed site plan application?
Yes, I have.
And did you also have an opportunity to review this board's professional reports, both planning and engineering?
Yes, I have.
Can you please walk us through the relief that we're requesting here tonight and why the justifications can be met underneath the MLUL?
Sure thing. Again, the relief is laid out very well in Mr. Slough's report. You get a nice summary and a nice detail of the relief that the applicant is seeking. Relatively straightforward application from a zoning and relief standpoint. We're looking at 4 variances, 1 design exception from the Route 440 scattered site redevelopment plan, a well-written plan and well-articulated, certainly a site that is looking to revitalize the former Ken's Marine area, and we've seen this plan manifest with a nice positive transformation. This is a visually prominent location in the community. It's that bump out right on 440. Currently, in its present condition, it is clearly contrary to the vision for a focal point at this location. Any investment on this property is a good thing, and the fact that the applicant is going to introduce some order here, some landscaping, some lighting, some physical improvements will certainly be an improvement over the stagnation that has been there at this visually prominent location for a long time. So if we look at the application holistically, we certainly see the planning benefit of the promotion of the general welfare, repurposing a site that is sitting well-suited to accommodate the use that's before you. It's essentially cleared, it's flat, ideally suited for the use that's before you as a long-term commercial parking lot. We're also looking at Purpose M, our planning goal for efficient use of land, repurposing a site that has been developed for non-residential use for a long time, and then certainly Purpose G, to provide for a variety of uses in appropriate locations. This is going to be vehicular storage along a transportation route, so we've got good connectivity, good accessibility to the regional highway network, which goes towards the suitability of this site for the use that's before you. In terms of the negative criteria, I think it's been well vetted. The questions that have been asked by your professionals, that have been asked by the board as well, will ensure that relief can be granted here without any substantially adverse impacts to the public, or certainly without impairing the fulfillment of the redevelopment plan, which is certainly to create a revitalized focal point at this location. What I like about this application is, as you heard through Mr. Prasada at the outset, there's a sunset provision here. This is a temporary use, it's an interim use, which is consistent in the redevelopment plan with what you have in your base zoning ordinance under Chapter 35 as well, which recognizes that it may take some time for market conditions to come to fruition. We do see in the long term here a very exciting project happening at this location, but it will take time for that to materialize. So this is a nice transitional use, a nice interim use, which is consistent with both your zoning ordinance and now the redevelopment plan as well. In terms of what's been vetted here, just by way of recap, noise, dust, we're going to pave over a site that presently is not finished. Refuse, I think, was well vetted as well through Mr. Slaw's questioning of the applicant, particularly with respect to new vehicles, new inventory, parking, traffic you just heard about, any visual distraction here, the level of activity I think has already been vetted as well with the expert testimony before me. Lighting, I think there was a question early on whether the lighting would need relief, but as I see it now, that there's no relief in that regard. This is a site, as I said, that's clear, so we're not going to create any vegetation removal. It will provide for a positive aesthetic by finishing a site that is presently unfinished. You've talked about security, you've talked about access. I think all of those could be reasonable conditions of approval. And again, this is a long-term parking lot. It is not a high turnover, and it is not going to have any tractor trailers here. So I think there's a good list of no's that the board can hook as reasonable conditions to the approval of this application. Again, the relief is fourfold here from the scattered site redevelopment plan. The tract area, 7.28 acres, where 10 is the minimum required. It's an existing condition, no additional land available to cure that deficiency, so that would qualify, in my view, as a textbook hardship. It is a lawfully platted lot. The applicant's not asking for subdivision here. So again, I think that would be a textbook practical difficulty. We have the incidental sign area, which your planner has indicated is reasonable and appropriate. 2 square feet where 1 square foot is the maximum that's allowed. This is all in the interest of identifying for the motoring public the areas on the site that are subject to flooding, so there's a safety aspect here as well. And then lastly, the fence height on the property line and on the right-of-way at 6 feet, where 4 is the maximum allowed, is really to effectuate a uniform perimeter around the property and a continuation of that which is already there. So again, I think all of those variances can be granted without any substantially adverse impact to the public or impairment to the zone plan. Lastly, there is a design exception related to the parking lot screening. I think the exhibit was clear that we are going to provide a nice green belt around the perimeter of the property. Certain areas in the front where we have that easement would be encumbered from providing a continuous screen, but I think the planning intent is substantially met here. All said, it's a permitted use. It meets the definition of permitted use. It does not have any of the permitted principal uses that are in the IH Heavy Industrial District. That also nests uses that are in your limited industrial districts as well. One of them is impound vehicles, so you're not going to get that here as part of this application. These will be newer vehicles. And then finally, the last condition associated with the definition of interim use other than temporary use is that the heavy industrial district, that you shall not exceed the performance standards under 35-5.27, which I just ran through with the various criteria on the negative criteria. All said, I think this application meets the criteria under the C2 balancing test as a better zoning alternative for the property. There are certain elements of hardship here as well, given the fact that we are reworking a developed piece of property. So I think the stronger proof is on the C2 side, but the board can also move favorably on certain aspects under C1 hardship as well. That said, I believe the criteria are met and approval is warranted.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Mr. Slaw?
Well, I would say, I don't think I could have said it better myself. I agree on the C1, certainly with the lot size, nothing else that can be done there. And I agree with the C2 characterizations for the other ones. It'll help effectuate, just on an interim basis, making this a much more attractive prospect from the public right-of-way, which would be a benefit from what we see today. It'll provide cash flow for the redeveloper, which will assist in them, instead of seeking perhaps a less well-thought-out redevelopment plan that then doesn't come to fruition, have a better thought-out redevelopment plan that can be brought to a proper resolution between the city's objectives and their objectives. So I think that it will be a good use for the city.
Okay, thank you. Any additional? Okay, Ms. Mack?
I just want to agree with Brian, but I also want to say that Brian did the original scattered site 14 a decade ago, and as we know, redevelopment plans are supposed to spur economic development. Luckily, we were able to have residential development down at the end. The Clayton Block, when we tried to do other things there, there was community objection because of, the prior use. And I believe what Mr. Posada says is this is an interim use. And it also, I think Mr. Ahmed Lack is on the Brownfields Development Committee. It allows us to do the work with the BDA over the next couple of years that will really repurpose the site in a positive way. Not that this applicant has to go away, but it'll help do what has stopped it from being done before. And I really I appreciate all the effort that Mr. Posada and the whole team put into it. We don't really want truck storage. However, this, as Mr. Slough said, this is a good economic interim use.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mack. Are there any members of the public that have a question for Mr. McDonough? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Mr. McDonough. Are there any members of the public that wish to make a comment regarding this application? Good evening.
Good evening. Jonathan Goulden with the law firm of Clark Goulden Attorneys at Law. I'm here on behalf of 195 East 22nd Street Urban Renewal LLC. Before I make a statement, can I just ask Mr. Posada a few questions about the application?
Sure.
So you are familiar, first of all, the settlement agreement that you referenced, was that part of the application? Was that included?
No, I believe it was not.
Is that confidential between the parties, or is that a publicly available document?
That would be a publicly available document, to the best of my knowledge.
And that has some provisions related to this particular application?
Can you further define provisions?
Well, is there something in the settlement agreement that allows this type of interim application to go forward, or as part of the structure of the settlement?
It specifically states that we're allowed to do an interim commercial parking use at the subject site.
Okay. And you're familiar with the 2016 redevelopment agreement between the city and my client?
Yes, I am, and I believe we have a pending litigation whereby a separate client of mine, Johnson Development, is currently defending a lawsuit brought by your client as well as the city. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I think Ms. Smack referenced in a former life, you used to work for the Inglesino Wicascala firm?
Yes, that is correct.
And at the time, in 2016, that firm was special redevelopment counsel to the city?
Actually, if I may, I believe you already brought this argument before the law division, and they
This
ruled
has
in
nothing-
favor. No, it does, because it's already been adjudicated by a judge. You don't get a second chance at a separate venue that doesn't have jurisdiction.
This has nothing to do with the lawsuit. This has to do with this application and this applicant. So what I'm asking you is, did you have any involvement in the drafting of the RDA from 2016 that my client is a party to with the city?
Respectfully, this has already been vetted. You already made the argument before the law division. The law division found in favor of my firm, who defended me. In addition, I believe you also deposed Mr. DeMarco, who said on his testimony that I had no involvement with it.
So that's incorrect statement of Mr. DeMarco's testimony, which happened 2 days ago.
What was his testimony?
It's also incorrect that the judge sided with your firm in connection with this application. What the judge said in that case was, we can get information related to the RDA from other sources. We didn't need to go to you because your firm is counsel to the party in that lawsuit.
I'm very confident that the attempt was made to recuse me, not
Not
only
to
from
recuse you,
yes, it
to
was.
depose you.
No,
To
it
depose
wasn't.
you.
It was to recuse me for not only representing Johnson Development, but from not representing any party here in the city of Bayonne. And I also believe your client, Mr. Vincent Alessi, attended my law firm, stated to my law firm that he originally first spoke to me and said that, yes, I had the blessing to become a client of Sills Cummins. And then after entering into that agreement, a retainment, I believe he executed the agreement, or it was conditioned, I should say, by my colleague Ted Zangari, that if we were retained by a Alessi organization, that would not mean that we couldn't take on any further clients who want to develop in the city of Bayonne. And at that time,
Gentlemen, may I interrupt?
Never responded.
May I interrupt for 1 minute?
We're getting far afield from.
Yeah,
what we're here to
I want to know where the relevance is to this land use application. If your contention is that he's conflicted out in
It's not
this
the
matter.
contention. We're not even going down that road, nor have we ever made that argument, so I don't know what he's talking about.
All
In a
right.
pending lawsuit, we sought his deposition. His firm sought to quash the deposition notice. The judge said we didn't have to take it.
Okay, let's get back
has
to my
nothing-
original question. What's the relevance of this to this
What I'm
land use
Trying to
application?
get to is I sent a letter to you, Mr. Campesano, and Mr. Posada on December 4th. I also sent it to Alicia and others at the city. In that 2016 redevelopment agreement, which the Inglesino firm drafted, which Mr. Posada worked for at the time and is very familiar with, in section 3.02B, which we pointed out in my letter, required my client at that time to upgrade the Route 440 East 22nd intersection. As the board probably knows, there was a lot of some pedestrian deaths, unfortunately, and other safety concerns that this board and the council had at the time. And because of the redevelopment of this area in general, they wanted to upgrade that traffic signal at the Route 440 and East 22nd intersection. In that redevelopment agreement negotiated between the city, at the time Mr. Posada on behalf of the city, and my client, the provision provided that after my client completed those improvements, that any non-residential commercial developers proposing new development would make a fair share pro rata contribution to the cost of those intersection improvements. My client proceeded in accordance with its RDA to make those improvements at the intersection, spent over $1.6 million doing so. This application is triggered by Section 3.02B of that redevelopment agreement. This is a non-residential commercial owner within the contribution area defined in that redevelopment agreement that is obligated to make a pro rata fair share contribution to those intersection improvements. So I did send a letter on December 4th to the board, to yourself, to Mr. Posada, simply asking the question, is the applicant going to make, or is the board going to require, or the applicant make their fair share contribution to this off-site improvement in accordance with my client's 2016 redevelopment agreement with the city?
That's the purpose of your appearance at this matter. So first off,
yes,
let's address the question to Mr. Posada with regard to your client's position with regard to the request.
Yes, my client's position is the same as the city of Bayonne, although I don't want to speak on behalf of the city of Bayonne, but at least to the best of my knowledge with the pending litigation, my client's position is the same as the city of Bayonne, as well as Johnson Development, that the window of opportunity for the clawback has since elapsed. The lessee organization engaged in unclean hands to extend that window. We also believe that the interpretation of the lessee organization is inconsistent with the
I guess we could get
But,
more simply, the answer is no.
Correct.
You're not going to, okay.
So the answer is no. So, okay, so can I get into my statement now? I guess I'm here, or is that the right proper time?
Yeah, that's really what we called you up for, was your statement.
Okay. So the statement is that, notwithstanding the applicant's position, he has misstated the city's position in the lawsuit. Everything he just said has not been said. He's not part of the lawsuit. I don't know where he's getting his information from. However, the redevelopment agreement that we provided to the board through Mr. Campesano, of which the city is a party, at the time of my client going through this process, negotiated a contract with the city that said they will rebuild the Route 440 East 22nd Street intersection, which benefits this project. As you come out of this project, the only way you can go is through that intersection. They spent $1.6 million plus doing so. They completed those improvements in 2018. They submitted their cost to the city, and the city is required to exercise good faith efforts to make sure that when a development such as this, which triggers all of the criteria in that section, comes before the city for an approval, that the city shall require that developer to make their fair share pro rata contribution. So our request is that a condition of approval be that the applicant make their fair share contribution in accordance with the June, just to make the record clear, and I'd ask that my letter be part of the record with its attachments. I have extra copies if you don't have it. June 29th.
I believe we have it.
Okay, I just asked that that be part of the record.
It will be made part of the record.
The June 29th, 2016 redevelopment agreement between the City of Bayonne and 195 East 22nd Street Urban Renewal LLC under Section 3.02B.
Mr. Golden, one other clarification. Is your client presently engaged in litigation with the City of Bayonne?
We are
over
engaged.
this issue?
We are engaged with the city in litigation with the city and Johnson Development, also Mr. Posada's firm's current client, regarding the self-storage facility near this project, a little bit off of 440, regarding that applicant's application that went through this board also did not include that requirement, and therefore that particular applicant, which now operates the self-storage facility, never paid their fair share to this intersection improvement. So we're here tonight to make sure that that mistake doesn't happen again on another applicant that triggers all the criteria.
Thank you, Mr. Golden.
Thank you. So the letter had an exhibit A and B, and there was also the 2016, or June 29, 2016 redevelopment agreement between the city and my client attached as well. And I have a copy here if you want. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of the public that wish to make a statement? Okay, Mr. Posada, you can have your closing statements.
Thank you, everyone. Listen, as you heard our application, It is for an interim parking use. That interim parking use is for 2 years, where we would have the opportunity for a 1-year extension for a total of 3 years. We did hear the board's comments regarding 2 potential conditions of approval if this board were find in the favor. Number 1 is that we would engage in a third-party we would execute a third-party contract with a private hauler for refuse. And then number 2, we would also institute some type of security camera system or security surveillance that was acceptable to the board engineer. So both of those conditions we do feel are acceptable. And as far as the condition goes with the, let's call it a pending objection by the lessee organization, we do not accept that as a condition of approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Posada.
Mr. Posada, would you like to expand on why you don't accept that as a condition of approval? Because he's made certain comments about it being an obligation of your clients as well as an obligation of the city, and I'd like you to address both issues.
Sure, absolutely. So I don't believe that it pertains to my client because first and foremost, this actual agreement itself, meaning the RDA, was executed in 2016. It had an 8-year window. It's now 2026. Number 2, we haven't had an opportunity to actually do the forensic accounting of the full amount of $1.6 million. So even to say that there would be a cash contribution at this given time, that's still in dispute. Putting the cash contribution to the side, to answer Mr. Campesano's question, I don't believe that my client should have to be obligated underneath this condition because the language itself says that it's not a guarantee, but rather it's the city, not the objecting attorney or his client, but rather the city is obligated to use just only best efforts to collect for the traffic improvement, emphasis on best efforts. There's also disputes on what parties should be included within that radius, or should I say linear feet. That's in dispute as well. So to land this plane, the claims that are made by the objecting attorney, those are in dispute right now currently with the proper venue at the law division. And that is before a judge. And the judge is going to make a determination eventually as to what parties are involved and what parties are not involved. And I want to reiterate, the redevelopment agreement itself specifically states not that it has to happen, but rather just best efforts, meaning the city will use best efforts for those development projects that are non-residential to contribute to the improvement of the traffic light and pay back their quote-unquote pro rata share to the actual developer. And I do believe that the purpose of the negotiations of best efforts was the developer also received quite a gain because they were able to develop that entire improvement with a very substantial pilot.
As to the city's obligation to, as to this board's obligation to make it a condition of approval, what is your position with regard to that?
Yes, respectfully, I would say that the board does not have that opportunity or that jurisdiction, specifically because if we were to be obligated, that obligation is between the city and the developer, meaning it would be up to the city council, the governing body, to make a determination in the negotiation or preparation of a redevelopment agreement, something that the planning board is not charged with that responsibility underneath the local redevelopment and housing law.
Posada, I'm going to ask you to repeat that to the board with regard to where the obligation arises from. It arises from a redeveloper agreement, which is between the city and the parties to whatever the original traffic control agreement was, not this board.
Yes, that is correct. I just want to expand that a little bit. It is between the city, meaning the city council, and the private parties themselves to that contract. That is also a contract between 2 different parties that had a meeting of the mind and engaged in negotiations for the exchange of consideration in order to execute that agreement, none of which was my client ever involved in.
Not asking about your client, I'm asking about the board itself, because if
I'm just clarifying the parties to the REA.
yeah, but the
City Council and 195 Urban Renewal.
so and this issue will be resolved in the Superior Court at some point in time.
Yes, the Superior Court of Hudson County.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Commissioners, anyone wish to make comment?
Normally, we don't, Mr. Golden, but being that it's a legal issue, we'll give you the opportunity. Come on up.
Just want to correct mischaracterizations of the operative clause, and I just want to read it into the record. 3.02B of the June 29, 2016 redevelopment agreement says the redeveloper, meaning my client, in lieu of paying a fair share for traffic and other off-site improvements on a prorated basis as required by the MLUL, shall install a new traffic signal with directly related infrastructure improvements defined as the traffic improvements at the intersection of Route 440 and East 22nd Street. The city shall not be responsible for contributing to the cost of these particular traffic improvements. The city, last time I checked, the planning board is part of the city, will require monetary contributions from any and all owners, developers, redevelopers proposing or developing non-residential projects or enlargements of existing residential projects, capital improvements, access improvements, or parking areas from and after the date hereof on a fair share basis whose properties and/or projects are located within 3,000 linear feet in all four compass directions measured outward from the center of the intersection adjacent to my client's project premises. There is a map attached to this, which is part of the record, which clearly shows this is within the 3,000 linear feet. The contributions from each such owner, developer, redeveloper towards shall be based upon the percentage of the entire cost incurred by the redeveloper for the installation of the traffic improvements allocated to each property within its contribution area based on the linear footage or frontage of their respective properties. The contributions shall only become due and owing when the owner, developer, redeveloper constructs its projects. The redeveloper shall supply to the city the actual cost of installation upon completion of the traffic improvements, so it, meaning the city, can then assess the pro rata contribution to be made by subsequent developers pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 40:55D-42. All amounts paid pursuant to the foregoing shall be paid to the redeveloper until the redeveloper has been reimbursed for 90% of the cost of the traffic light improvement. The city will continue to make good faith efforts to collect such funds until 90% reimbursement figure has been reached. The city will continue to have this responsibility to collect such funds for up to 8 years following the submission of the cost completion information by the redeveloper to the city. And it goes on. There's no 8-year limitation. It was 8 years after the submission of costs to the city. The record is clear that in 2022, my client submitted its cost to the city, and the city has been in possession of that information now for 4 years. It is incorrect to say that the Superior Court now has jurisdiction over this dispute because there is no dispute. There is a dispute involving the Johnson Development self-storage approval and constructed self-storage facility that was completed and never made its fair share contribution pursuant to that provision. It is the city's obligation, whether it's this planning board, the city council, the city, to require the monetary contributions on a pro rata basis from developers such as this. That payment is due upon construction of their project. There is no other step that's going to be between now and construction when this obligation is captured. So we don't object to this application. We're not an objector. We don't have any problem with what they're proposing to do. We are here as an interested party seeking to enforce and make sure that the city fulfills the contractual obligation it made to my client 9 years ago to induce it to spend the money to improve that traffic intersection so that when developments like this come up, they make their fair share pro rata contribution. Whether the dispute's amounted and they want a forensic accounting, all this stuff, again, the cost has been submitted. The city's in possession of that information. If the condition of approval is they shall make their pro rata contribution, amount to be determined, affirmed, so be it. But the last time I checked, the city of Bayonne, a body politic established pursuant to NJSA statutes, this planning board is part of the city. And I don't think there's another step between now and this being completed where this contractual obligation will be met. And it is the city's requirement to require the monetary contribution and use good faith efforts to do so. And that's the basis of our letter. That's the basis of our statement, not an objection, but as an interested party seeking that that condition be part of the approval if the board were so inclined.
Thank you, Mr. Gold.
Okay. Okay, commissioners, any comments before we move to a vote? Okay, seeing none, so we've heard the testimony. I know that there were some comments regarding refuse and security being part of conditions of approval, trying to get the right words. At this time, I would be looking to make a motion to approve this. Do I have a second? I'll move. Or do you want to just double check?
Yeah.
That up first?
The conditions were for trash and rubbish to be policed and removed, as well as cameras and security monitoring of the site.
Okay. Commissioners, I don't know if anyone else wishes to add any other conditions. Yes?
I did have that comment about the driveway apron, if the commissioners would like to include that also. If you're not going to do the improvements at the time of construction, if you're going to, if we're going to reevaluate it, if you come in for an extension.
Okay.
So if you want to include that also.
I
Yeah,
understand
I'm not
your
clear on it.
condition. Could you explain it a little better?
Sure. So the driveway apron into the site is deteriorated. I'd recommend that it be replaced. They are saying that further coordination with the DOT is going to prevent them from constructing, and they're asking that they don't do it at this time. So because it's in bad shape to begin with, if they do ask for an extension, I would think that the driveway apron should be reevaluated at that 2-year mark. And if it's completely ruined, then they would have to fix it at that time.
Okay, that makes more sense. So they leave it for now, but in 2 years, if there is an ask for an extension, then at that point, that should be a condition that we have to evaluate whether it's in poor condition, correct?
Correct.
Okay, makes sense.
Now I understand.
Thanks. Thank you. Anything else, commissioners, before we move to a vote? Okay, so we have the conditions on the record. At this time, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
And on the vote? Sorry.
And on the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Abstain.
Excuse me, I didn't hear you. Okay. Commissioner Rhodes.
Abstain.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
I abstain.
Okay. I'm not sure of the answer to this one. We have one yes, one or
Two yeses.
Two yeses and 3 abstentions?
It's a majority.
Yeah, it's a majority.
Yeah. We had a quorum. It's a majority.
2 out of 2, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know Robert's rules well enough to know.
It's not, it's MLUL.
Oh, it's
but yeah,
MLUL.
because, all right. It's been approved, subject to conditions.
Okay.
Mr. Camposano, I just want to clarify for the record, it's this board's interpretation that the abstention, though, wouldn't be counted as a no, correct?
I'm sorry, repeat that, Matt.
I just want to make a clarification for the record that we have 2 yays and 3 parties, or commissioners, I should say, that abstain from voting, but that abstention is not equivalent to a nay.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Reason I'm contemplating it is because I do the zoning board too, and it would be, it wouldn't be just a simple vote under the zoning board, but under the planning board, I believe it's just a simple vote of all the yays and nays.
Got it.
And if I'm wrong, Mr. Goulden is going to have an answer from a Superior Court judge very soon telling me so.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have some resolutions to adopt, yes? Don't throw that agenda away just yet, Mr. Camposano. I know.
Okay. First resolution, P-25-038, Hudson County Improvement Authority. Site is 685-689 Broadway, Block 153, Lot 20. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt that resolution?
I'll move.
Second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
Okay, next resolution will be P-25-030, That's for the redevelopment plan for 485-493 Avenue C and 64-66 West 22nd Street, Block 209, Lot 22, 23.01, and 27.
I'll move.
Second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
Next resolution is P-25-034. That's the area in need of study for 973-993 Avenue C, 80 West 47th Street, Block 76, Lot 17.01 and 17.02, St. Vincent's. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the RDP?
I'll
The
move.
AINOR, sorry.
I'll move.
And second?
Second.
And on the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
We have another resolution that isn't on the agenda, but it was dealt with at the last meeting. That was 102-116 Avenue E. It's P-25-033, Bayonne Urban Renewal LLC, which was approved on 12/3/25. Can I get a motion and a second?
I'll move.
Second.
On the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubach.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.